Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Nintendo. I mean, it's like tradition at this point, it feels like, because we've done this. It's been like 3 years in a row or something. It's been at least 2.
Something like that, yeah.
We just talk about Nintendo at this point after we have our first real Direct, giving our thoughts on the Direct, and then what we think 2022 is going to really look like for Nintendo, especially into the holidays, since now they have a nice little block set up here with their big release, seemingly now set up for September. But let me go around here. We have Jon Cartwright now at GVG.
That's me, yeah. Just started a week ago, I think.
Yes. Noted Nintendo insider now.
Yep, a Model D knows.
That was a good video. I like that video. That was fun. Very creative. Very creative, definitely. And then we have AntDude.
Hello.
Had to
How
bring
you
you in. We had a lot of Kirby stuff going on recently.
I'm eating good this year, so
I wanted to see your thoughts on this Kirby game since it was prominently shown here during this Direct. So I need to hear from the Kirby fandom what the vibe is
Kirby
here.
man, the typecast Kirby fan. That's me.
Yes, and then we have Scott.
All right. When there's a Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes enhancement, I'm sure to follow. So.
New PC gamer
Glad
over
to
there.
be on.
Good to have Scott the PC gamer on.
Should have censored the background.
Yeah, can you blur it out? We got that kind of technology now.
Didn't mention the tree.
The tree.
Got a tree now. Come on.
So we did have the Direct that was last week, actually. And it had about 30 announcements there, some downloadable content, some older games from legit the 90s, and of course some newer ones to look forward to here. Before we go through the Direct, how was everyone's overall thoughts, general thought, good, bad, great? What do we think of this Direct?
I mean, I think it was a contender for probably the best Direct ever, personally. For me, it was just consistent hit after hit after hit with very few lulls, and that cannot be said for many Directs. I went back and rewatched the February 2021 Direct, and it was not good. So, yeah, I thought this was great.
It's funny going back in hindsight. I remember there was a Wii U Direct, which was heralded as the best Direct ever, where they revealed Xenoblade Chronicles X and a bunch of other stuff. And going back to that, it was kind of lame. X was cool, but Woolly World was so far off. It looked really early on. So, yeah, always going back in hindsight, Directs always feel a little bit lackluster compared to what they are in the moment. But right now, I love this Direct. Probably depends on how much you like RPGs, though, because there's a bunch of really cool cult classic ones, and if you don't care for RPGs, probably not your stuff. But Mario Strikers, baby, I'm feeling that.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think of this one, Scott? Because I was going through it. Now I pictured people who were going to be really excited about this. I've talked to and I thought about some people who weren't. But there was one game in there that I was thinking might be up your alley. But just the structure of the Direct, I guess.
Oh, that one game I'll have something to say.
Yeah.
But no, I liked this Direct quite a bit. I thought it was quite fantastic. I think they just have I think the best Directs just have new game after new game after new game pretty much. This one, and even if they had older games that we already knew about, it was good to see them again, and it was good to see an update on them. There's some weird stuff. Obviously, the Disney mobile racing game was still kind of weird. But overall, I think this is one of their best Directs in recent memory. I think everybody just has something at least to that they like or something to talk about. And I just think every single moment it was something where you got a Front Mission remake, and then pretty much 2 minutes after that you saw Portal was coming to Switch, and then a couple minutes after that you see Chrono Cross is coming to Switch, where even if you may not have played these games or are a fan of them, these are just really big names and really big names in gaming history, in the industry, all of that, where it's just an interesting Direct to talk about. There's just something that everybody can really grab onto here.
So I really like two things about the Direct. One, I like that they seem to open everything maybe with a title or a cinematic, but then they went immediately into gameplay. So we had a look at the game itself, basically for everything here. And everything that they showed is coming out in the next, the latest I guess they showed was 6 or 7 months from now or something. So it was all right, here's the game, and it's coming out in 3 months. So it's like that.
Which that's pretty crazy.
It's that feeling of
that's pretty crazy because they've already had a stacked year so far for 2022.
Yep.
really. So just this was kind of like the cherry on top, pretty much.
Yeah, so you
And
get
normally when they hype up a direct, they say, "Oh, we're gonna highlight games in the next few months," and they always lie. And there's always like a handful of games that come out in the next year. They actually kind of stuck to their word, which was kind of remarkable.
Yep.
Yeah, they haven't shown their full hand just yet. Like, we still know of big games that are coming, presumably, this year. Like Breath of the Wild 2 is 2022. At least that's what they say.
No, we're gonna
and
get
there's no
into
sign of that. I'm not worried about that, though, because there's just so much coming in the first half that, like, clearly there's going to be more to come later.
So let's go through the directs. I have all the games pulled up here. Once again, I'm with John, AntDude, and Scott. Make sure you guys check their channels out down in the description. Go by, like some of the videos, drop some comments, say hello. But let's start with Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. That's June 24th. I saw this happening in real time. I was like, awesome, a new Fire Emblem game. Then they showed Warriors, and I was like, that's too bad. Because I feel like
this is like the least. This is the least memorable part of the direct. I saw absolutely nobody talk about this afterwards. There was nothing to talk about. There was just nothing to really latch onto. It's kind of like in hindsight, it's like, yeah, duh, this happened, because they're pretty much following the same formula as like what Hyrule Warriors did, and then Age of Calamity followed up with. Just the fact that you have kind of this non-canon fan fest kind of thing, even if Fire Emblem Warriors was kind of lacking in that department. And then you followed up with kind of a canon, pseudo-canon sequel. I think this is more canon than Age of Calamity. Age of Calamity is kind of like, in quotes, I guess, I don't know. But yeah, like it's interesting. Like, it's just like, this is gonna be a solid game. I'm kind of like, I don't know, a Warriors game kind of needs to like hook me with like the concept. I just feel like it probably would have been more interesting to me even if they did something like a Xenoblade Warriors game, just because that's never been done yet.
That's the thing I was
just like this
more disappointed about. People were like, oh, it's Fire Emblem, but it's a Warriors game. I wanted the big new Fire Emblem game. I kind of just want them to get weird with the Warriors formula and pull in some strange property from Nintendo and just try to make a Warriors. Like, people were joking about a Mario Warriors game. Yeah, why not? Try it, see what happens. Go get F-Zero, do something weird with that.
WarioWare Warriors.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Just try to try something
Warriors
new, you know? Just see what you... But then it's like Fire Emblem Warriors. I mean, we had a Fire Emblem Warriors, and I mean, people like the Warriors type games, but I think to me it was both. It was like I wanted the next big Fire Emblem game, or like a different Warriors game, and then I just got Fire Emblem Warriors.
Yeah, I do think they've gotten better, though. Like, Hyrule Warriors and the first Fire Emblem Warriors were very self-contained, whereas like Persona 5 Strikers and Age of Calamity are so much better themed to their own licenses. But also, like, Koei Tecmo made Three Houses. It's like, what better studio to handle a spin-off than, you know, the studio that made the game?
Sure.
So that's kind of neat, but I'm not, like, throwing my hat in the air excited. It's like, cool, makes sense, you know?
Yeah, I think...
What's kind of weird about it is, like, with Age of Calamity, when the story came out, it's like, oh, we're going to tell the story of the war from 100 years ago. Like, it made sense. Persona 5 Strikers is a direct sequel. Okay, cool. No one was asking for another... Because they said this Fire Emblem Warriors is, like, another path. Because the main Three Houses have multiple endings. This is just another path. No one was really asking for one. Because the game already had 3, technically 4, added a DLC one. No one was like, we need another story. We need more, and we need to kill 100 people at a time. So this is not really satisfying anyone. I mean, Three Houses was good, and this will be neat, but it's definitely weird and relatively safe, I think.
We had Advance Wars 1-2 Reboot Camp get its release date of April 8th. I'm
worried that's going to bomb.
It probably will, but I will be
bomb.
one of the 10 people who buy it, okay?
I mean, it's coming out.
Full price, same month as Switch Sports.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is a bit...
It's like a week before Strikers too, right? Or like a week after Strikers?
It's
One of those ways.
Strikers is in June.
Strikers
Oh, it's June.
Yeah, so we're good.
Oh, damn.
April 8th on Advance Wars, though.
You get an Advance Wars-sized wiggle room between releases, but I don't know. It looks really good. I've always loved the look of this game. I think the 2D art is phenomenal. I love how it's like it is 3D rendered, but it still invokes the same character as the GBA games. I always love the 3D models too. I thought this game looked phenomenal. You know, I'm worried. I felt like December would have been a good time for it because like it was originally supposed to launch the same day as Big Brain Academy. Which, you know, again, you know, oh no, but, you know, like, oh, it's going to bomb. But I think April, like, it is just in the middle of, like, so much where March, you're coming off a triangle strategy in Kirby, and then it's sandwiched between those, and then Switch Sports, and even like, you know, Mario Strikers is soon after that, where I feel like this is gonna get lost in the shuffle, especially at full price. So,
I like the idea that if somehow this game does do well, then hopefully Way Forward become like the home of Advance Wars.
Sure.
Because it's been so long since we've had a new game. And Intelligent Systems are busy with Fire Emblem and Paper Mario and all that. So yeah, if this does somehow do well, there is a good outcome. So please buy it.
I don't think it's going to be from lack of like quality for the game or content, because they showed like full multiplayer. You can customize the maps, you can share custom maps, you can do like online like scenarios and everything. I think it's just going to be lack of impact from the intellectual property itself. That name Advanced Wars is for old people like me, like, where it's like, I remember Advanced Wars, I'm going to buy that. Whereas somebody who's like 15 right now is probably like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's going to be one of those tests to see like how many people have been demanding for Advance Wars to come back for decades, and if they'll actually put the money down when the time comes.
Yep, that we'll find out pretty soon. Actually,
Yeah.
I said April 8th.
April 8th.
No Man's Sky was shown. Did anyone expect No Man's Sky to just randomly pop up on the Switch?
Bravo that it could happen, but I don't know, at this point a lot of ports like that, like I'm like that's cool that you can do it, but I think the aura around them is kind of worn off for me a little bit, where it's just like immediately I see it and I'm like, this is really cool that you were able to do this. But I don't know, like if this was back in 2018, this would have like blown my mind now with stuff like Doom Eternal on the Switch and Wolfenstein 2 and all of this stuff. You know, like now it's just not as interesting to me, especially with a game like No Man's Sky, which I know has, you know, consistently gotten better. But you know, I'm just like I'm kind of over a lot of like the Miracle ports, because like I just kind of feel like I'm like I'd just rather play that on like, you know, like on a console at this point. But you know, that's not to say that this one doesn't have any merit. You know, it's portable No Man's Sky, that's really cool. Just for me personally, I'm kind of over a lot of the Miracle ports, and I'd rather just see a lot of stuff that is made for the Switch specifically, or like legacy content that really doesn't have a problem running on Switch coming over to Switch personally. So I don't know, that's just where I am at with the system.
Every time I see something like this, my immediate thought is, man, in 10 years, Switch content creators who are going to ride on the nostalgia are going to make videos on the long lineup of impossible ports, and this is just going to be another one. Like The Witcher and, you know, all those Outer Worlds, all that stuff. I don't know if anyone's really gonna be excited about No Man's Sky outside of a technical perspective. I don't know who's gonna be like, oh, finally I get to play No Man's Sky.
Yeah. I like you said, it's more the technical, like, hey, we can do it, so let's do it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then we got
Do you know who's porting it? Is there any word on like the porting studio?
Is it just them? Is it just Hello Games?
That's the only logo they
good
show.
For them. You know what? That's commendable. I'll commend them for that. That's pretty cool.
The one thing I'll give them for No Man's Sky is the file size on it was always pretty small. So I don't like one of the biggest deterrents.
It also looked pretty good.
Because it's like procedurally generated and all of this. So apparently, like the file size could be smaller. I remember when it first came out, it was like 3 gigabytes or something on the PC. When I downloaded, I thought it was a patch or something. I was like, that downloaded the wrong thing. No, it's the game. And one of the biggest deterrents for these third parties that we keep hearing is the file size. Not necessarily could we turn the visual sliders down or do things with draw distance. It's like, hey, this thing's 50 gigabytes on other platforms. Can we get that down to like 16 to make it worthwhile on the Switch for the cart cost? So I don't know. Maybe they just played around with it in the office and they realized, oh, this will work. Let's just ship it because we can put it on like a 4 gigabyte cart or something. But we did get to the biggest announcement for the Direct, and that was Mario Strikers Battle League, June 10th. Mario Strikers is back. It's an exciting announcement. I was very, very happy. I liked it mostly on the GameCube. I know there's a Wii Mario Strikers, but I always went back to that GameCube one. I think the Wii one got a little too crazy with some of the stuff they were trying to do, where you're getting multiple goals on like one shot. And I just like the boring basic stuff, I guess. But this looks great. Mario Strikers Battle League.
It's got a different title here. Here it's called Mario Strikers Battle League Football.
Oh, good.
Just to make sure you know
really.
it's
Maintaining tradition.
Did you know Mario and Luigi are Dream Team and brothers at the same time?
What you guys think of this one? I don't know if you're big Strikers fans or you've been really playing it a lot on the Wii or the GameCube.
Hell yeah.
I love Strikers.
Totally, yeah. I played a lot of the Wii one, even though it's much less balanced than the GameCube one. But I always wanted a sequel because Rosalina wasn't a thing when they made Charged, because she came out the same year, but not before the game came out. So there's a lot of new characters they can introduce, but there's just this sense of personality in Strikers that made me a bigger Mario fan. Like, you see them interact in a far more interesting way than any other spin-off, and I think that's going to be really pivotal to a lot of new fans, because they know them as these really sterile characters. They do parties, they jump, they never really go places though, whereas Strikers gives them this personality that I think is going to really, just change how they see these characters.
Like the Waluigi crotch chop? That could be in there?
And like Daisy jumping off a ship and just like landing with a giant impact. Like, it's great stuff.
I mean, plus with Next Level, like, Luigi's Mansion 3 is still like one of the best animated games on the console, and you could see a little bit of it in the trailer for Strikers, but man, if they can really just go all out for every single Mario character they throw in there, the personality should be off the charts. It may not be as violent and as over the top as the previous ones are. We did get to see characters be thrown into electric fields, which I still can't believe is a thing. Crotch chopping, I'm going to assume no.
It's got to be in there.
Delighted to be wrong.
It's gotta be.
Let's see that E10 rating. The thing that really impressed me, one, obviously the visuals. I think they look good because they show us gameplay for it. I like the illustrations that they bring in when they do like their special moves. Like, it's really, really cool looking there. But the online play kind of shocked me. I know we're still, I think, getting used to Nintendo really diving into online play this much, but they showed off a lot of online during this Direct, but really showed it off with Strikers, because when they were showing it, I was like, that would be really fun to play with people online. I wonder if Nintendo's gonna, and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to do online. There's going to be full 20-person clubs, so you can create a club, everyone can join in, and then you guys can kind of go off and do separate matches to, I guess, raise your club ranking. And they have unlockable stuff you get, and it sounds like they're going to, I guess, continue to add stuff to it as they go along, which they've done with their sports games. But that was probably the most surprising thing to me, was the online that they showed off here.
See, that's the one thing that worries me about this one, because that character roster looks very tiny.
Yeah.
And I'm just, because, like, man, like, the Mario Sports output on Switch has been a little lackluster to me with that kind of finish it later, drip feed approach, just because, like, I popped in Mario Golf recently, and at launch, that really bummed me out, just with, like, how little there was to it. But then I played it recently, and, like, the stuff they added was like, oh, man, like, the New Donk City course is super good. And, like, all of the courses that they added are really fun. Like, they added some good modes, some new characters, but then they were like, well, nobody's playing this anymore, so they just cut off support a couple months in. Yeah. So I'm really worried. I'm not really worried. I'm just more so, like, a little, I'm kind of like, it doesn't really matter because I'm still going to buy it. But, it's something where it's great to see it come back. It definitely, I guarantee you, this is still done by Next Level. Like, the character models look very much like Next Level. Not nearly as like crazy animated, because like Luigi's Mansion 3 has like some of the most fluid, like, crazy animation ever, where this is more so like, it looks like Mario Strikers. It looks like Mario Strikers again. I think the character models up close really do look like when they show Mario in the gear customization thing, that really does look like Next Level's character model and style to me. But it just looks like more Mario Strikers, which is good. It's a little like, they don't really seem to have like a major like, the clubs seem to be the main part of this game, judging by the title. So other than that, it looks very much like just another Mario Strikers, which is nice to know that they're not messing with the formula that much. But I personally would like to see a little bit more, because it looks, it doesn't look like it's evolved that much. But overall, it's great to see it back. It's great to see them, coming, pretty much taking a lot of stuff that we might not have seen for a generation or two and bringing it back on the Switch, kind of like, it does feel like the Switch is going to get pretty much every major Nintendo series that, it can possibly get, which is really exciting.
Yeah. Scott was touching on the roster for a moment there too, and during the 8-player selection bit, they show, I think, 10 characters, because 8 people choose a character, there's 2 remaining. And Daisy's not there for some reason. Diddy Kong's not there, despite being in the other games. So either that's just not the finished roster, or they are doing the drip feed approach, where it's like, hey, here's Daisy 5 months later, and that would suck.
The issue I have with that is that they
Yeah.
don't end up on the cartridge. So like down the road, we'll say maybe you can't access it anymore. So who knows? But like then you don't have.
I'm a
those
little
characters.
more hopeful because I want to just say Camelot's the problem for golf and tennis and not Next Level. I'm going to be hopeful about
Yeah,
this.
it's weirdly, it may be a lot of the developer thing because it's just like apparently like oh my god, who is the Mario and Luigi developer?
Alpha
Dream.
Dream.
Alpha Dream, that's it. Like they were the reason why I think they were the ones that pitched the remakes to Nintendo for like the 3DS. They were like, we want to do the
Gotta
remakes.
do Bowser's
And
Inside
like,
Story.
what is your problem? So it's just like maybe a little bit of that is Camelot, but Nintendo does that a lot with their multiplayer games. Where they kind of do the drip feed approach.
But I just hope it's minimal because Luigi's Mansion 3 also had DLC, but it was very, very minimal just for their
that
multiplayer.
game felt
So
very complete.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm very hopeful because, man, Strikers in the right hands, if it's just a polished, good multiplayer experience, it's going to be one of the best multiplayer experiences on the Switch.
Yeah, you can...
Because, man, the GameCube version is still, to
it's
this
great.
day,
You can build on
so
that
fantastic.
If they don't
multiplayer,
have
too.
like
Yeah,
if
8-player
they don't
local
have a ton
multiplayer,
of
holy cow.
characters- Yeah, if they don't have a ton of characters, I hope because I saw like some good stadiums where they are doing a lot more with the stadiums. Just the fact we saw like a Donkey Kong one, and the fact potentially that you can like you can have two stadiums. Like at least the start of it showed like a kind of a Mario stadium and then like kind of a Bowser stadium come together. Was that in gameplay? Like, did they ever show that in?
I think they did.
Gameplay.
I think
I'm sure there's
CG
some
to
gimmick,
gameplay
yeah.
for that.
That is pretty cool. I like that. I hope they have like a good chunk of stadiums then and a good selection of modes. I don't really know if you need like an adventure mode like the Camelot stuff because like I don't know, like that's always like, oh, this is cool. Like when they show the trailer, and then when I'm playing it, I'm just like, I hate this.
I kind of feel
Yeah.
like
I'm
if the
just like,
online itself, because they showed the the clubs and all this, if they spent their time building that out, or like the multiplayer side over just trying to build this like half-baked campaign or something, I think that'd be better time spent there.
Well, I think Strikers just kind of had a career mode before.
You would just
Yeah,
go
just
through
get
a
the-
ladder
just get the
tournament
trophies and
style.
that's it.
Yeah.
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 Just do that.
I'm cool with that as long as it has like a good amount of a good amount of just like stadium, all that stuff. Which I'm hopeful, but either way, the gameplay looks good. It's just more Mario.
It's more Strikers, yeah.
Sure. That'll work. That'll work. They did show off Splatoon 3. I guess that's their Salmon Run next wave. That looked very much at first like Splatoon 2, and I was like, are they just doing like a...
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's
it
the
looked-
problem with this.
It's a weird.
Yeah.
It was a very odd thing to show off because to anybody that's not a Splatoon huge player or fan, like I like Splatoon, but just watching that to somebody who played a bit of Splatoon 2, but hasn't for a couple years, like I'm just like, it's just more Salmon Run,
They haven't shown the hook of this game. Like, we don't know what's unique about Splatoon 3 yet. They've given us like little glimpses, like that buddy who follows you around. There's new abilities in multiplayer. But they need to show us that thing that makes us say, like, this is Splatoon 3. And I think they're holding on to it.
You think it's the
They're
single
just
player?
not showing it.
Or the whatever they're
It could
trying
be.
to do there?
It could be the single player.
Yeah, but the thing with the single players in Splatoon games is they just feel like challenge levels. It would be cool if like we could get something a little more expanded, because if it is going to be, oh, every 3 hours you get 2 maps, good luck. If it's just the same, it'll still be fun because Splatoon is fun. I know the hardcore Salmon Run guys are like, you can toss eggs now. Oh, $60. But it just looks like more Splatoon. Is that a good thing or bad thing? It depends on how much you like Splatoon.
It's good, but like it's something where for somebody like me, like I look at this and I'm just like, I'm not excited because I can go and play Splatoon 2 on my Switch right now. Like, there's nothing stopping me from that. And, God forbid Salmon Run isn't available right now, but I could play Salmon Run if it's available. So I want to see the campaign. I want to see a bit new, and I'm sure it's going to happen because, like I said, I can play Splatoon on the Switch right now. I can do that right now. So I think Nintendo themselves probably know, like, there has to be something that's very different about this. But for the time being, it just seems like just more Splatoon, which is cool. It's going to be fun. It's going to be cool that, everybody's playing Splatoon again, and, it'll be more... It's more exciting to play Splatoon and more new stuff and all that. But from what they've shown to the general public, I think it looks just kind of like another Splatoon on Switch.
Yeah.
Then we had the first of many Square announcements. Front Mission First is getting a remake, or the first Front Mission game, I guess, from the Super Famicom, and then Front Mission 2 is going to follow up. All that's happening this summer and then in the future. I think, is this Forever Entertainment doing these?
It is Forever, yeah.
They signed that deal with Square, and then apparently they had some kind of investment deal with Nintendo as well, so I guess this kind of makes sense to see these now. But, like, this was one of those weird things. There are a couple of them here in this Direct, just out of nowhere. Like, no one was like, yep, we're getting Front Mission. They're definitely going to remake those.
That's so... I can't believe Front Mission is relevant in 2022. That's insane.
Yeah.
Apparently, they are really good strategy RPGs, and it's cool to see those franchises come back.
I liked Front Mission 3.
Front Mission.
I liked 3 on the PS1, but that felt like that was another lifetime ago when I was renting PS1 games every weekend. And it's not something I've played recently, so...
I am wary of Forever. I think with the right direction, they can do well. But a lot of their output is the lesser eShop games. They do a lot of very, very cheap ones. They go on sale a lot. But they also did Panzer Dragoon, and as a pretty big Panzer Dragoon fan, I was not a fan of the remake.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things I didn't like about that. But I think with the right budget, with the right direction, they probably could do all right. But I am just like a little bit wary of Forever.
That was an issue I remember because the controls were kind of messed up in that game, if I remember right.
Yeah. And the crosshair like lapped over the dragon for some reason. There's just like lots of really easy fundamental stuff that was wrong about that game.
This is a strategy RPG, so
I think this one seems kind of hard for them to screw up.
Yeah, I hope so.
They started off with some weird ones. They started off with some weird ones. They were just like, we're gonna do Panzer Dragoon and House of the Dead on Switch. It's just like House of the Dead.
I forgot.
I have
about
no
House
idea
of the
what's
Dead.
going on with that.
I want to see. I personally think they're having a hard time with the gyro set, like cursor deal, making that accurate, because people seem to forget that the Wii pointer controls significantly more accurate than just gyro, like by a lot. So I think it would be easier if we had that pointer control system still, whereas now they're like gyros kind of floats off on its own sometimes. And
gyro's great when you can recenter it easily. Like if you're holding a trigger to start aiming, gyro's great. But if you're aiming all the time, it drifts so fast. Light gun games were not made for gyro.
We had Disney Speedstorm, free-to-play game this summer. Another kart racer.
Mario Kart 9 is dead.
Was this Gameloft? Was it Gameloft making this?
Asphalt developers.
Yep.
The Asphalt developers. They're finally making
They're
a new
back.
game.
A lot of kart racer games hitting the Switch now. At least Chocobo GP looks interesting.
I'm excited for
I
that.
saw this and kind of
me
just
too.
glazed over during this section and then moved on.
What's weird is it's like
know.
kind of like dark and apocalyptic looking too, which is it's very strange. And it's free to play. It's just hitting all of like this
Well,
weird wrong
they
notes.
said Asphalt developers, free to play, cross play. I'm just like, all right, that just implies it is a mobile game that they're bringing to Switch. They did this similarly. They did like what was it called? Star Wars Rebels. Was that the game?
Oh, yeah.
It was like a mobile game that they talked about during the Switch. They had this CGI trailer in like September or February that was like, oh, a new Star Wars game is coming to Switch, and it's just like, and they had this 10-second CGI trailer for a mobile game that was coming to Switch. I don't know why Nintendo advertised these games, but it's whatever. It'll be fine.
We had some.
They're like, okay, you can get Sora in Smash as long as you promote Disney Speedstorm.
Did this one have its own headline and Klonoa didn't?
Yeah.
I think this one had. They were like racing onto Nintendo Switch it's Sully and then collections of games are coming to Switch, and then Klonoa is in that one.
Yeah.
It's like you.
We had some older ports announced. Yeah, Star Wars Force Unleashed, apparently from the Wii. It's a Wii version.
That's cool.
April 20th. There you go.
Yep.
I find it interesting that they don't even like denote that, which implies that the 360 version is not coming. They're just calling this straight up Star Wars: The Force Unleashed, which is weird. Because they're porting pretty much every Star Wars game they can get their hands on.
Yep. I feel like this is just one of those, like you said, one of these announcements where it's like, all right, I guess, moving on.
Yeah, this is one of the couple lulls of the Direct, like just to let's get these couple announcements out of the way.
Assassin's Creed, the Ezio Collection, that's February 17th. That had leaked out
So rough.
before.
It looks so rough.
Yeah, and this is one of those situations where I don't know why I'd buy the physical copy of these games, because it's like they give you one game on the collection, they make you down with the rest, and it's like that's
Well, they obviously do well enough because this is the third Assassin's Creed collection that they.
Oh, I'm
or
sure
the
they do.
Assassin's Creed game in general that they
Yeah.
put.
Yeah.
So like that's cool. I'm always down for more 360 stuff to come over to Switch. I think that's great. It was a surreal experience to be able to play like BioShock Infinite and like like see that and like, oh wow, this is cool. I think these games are a perfect fit for Switch. But again, at this point, another Assassin's Creed collection, I'm kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
They showed SD Gundam Battle Alliance. That's apparently this year.
Yes.
Finally.
I saw it and I was like, all right, that's kind of cool, I guess. But then we get to
Wait, you guys don't have anything to say?
not really.
No,
SD Gundam. I saw it. And I was
Really?
like, all right, I guess. I mean,
I'm currently writing my
Wow.
I'm currently writing my thesis on it,
It's
but I'm not ready
unfortunate.
to present it with
Yeah.
the class.
it's like
I was about to feel really inadequate because I was like, oh damn, I don't.
there.
Have
I mean, there's like
anything
the
to say about
versus
SD
the
Gundam.
versus series that I was playing on the PS4 were a bit more interesting, but I'm sure people out there, someone out there is excited for SD Gundam. There you go. Got to another Square announcement. Kind of expecting this one, but I think people were expecting it to be different or look different and actually be announced by Sony, but it was here. That's Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers Edition, April 7th.
This
They
is
said
exactly what I
Teleview.
thought it was going to be. This is exactly what they did with FF7 and 9. So
Yeah.
They spoke the words to Teleview in a direct. Like, that's nuts.
Yeah, that was interesting to hear that because Radical Dreamers, that was only as a Teleview download, and I guess they translated it, and it's part of the package here with Chrono Cross. The game, the rumor originally was like, oh, it'll be a remake. Then it turned into it'll be a remaster, and then it turned into it's going to be cheap. It's going to be cheaply done. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks like the
Square
PS1
Enix
version. They
stuff like
upscaled it.
that.
They changed a few assets out. It looked like, but there you go. It's Chrono Cross.
There's a button where there's like updated textures, and you can like swap to old garbage texture mode if you want to, if you are so inclined.
It's always weird when you remaster a PlayStation game and you've got these really high definition models and the backgrounds are still pretty low res, and you like they've done their best to kind of upscale it, but you can still tell that there's a disparity between the models in the background.
Kind of like they're just always floating above it, like at all times.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
Yeah,
I also
like, I don't really
like
know.
that. I like that aesthetic of old PS1 games, so I'm still excited. But I can see why some people would want a little more.
I think a lot of Square Enix. I think Square Enix is doing the best job just going into their catalog and bringing all the stuff to the forefront. If it's the best version, that is to be it depends. Because like I feel like a lot of the time, a lot of these Square Enix things can be a little. They can feel a little like little cheap. Of course, they're just remasterings and they're just kind of like porting the game. But like it's something where it's great to see this actually finally come out because like this is the first time Chrono Cross has ever left the PS1, correct?
yeah, it'll give us
Or,
an
like,
easier way to.
It might have been actually. It might have been on like the PS3, like via like the PS1.
You could
Classic,
go through the
but-
PS1 Classics,
yeah.
but it'll be the easiest way really to play it now, right, on like modern platforms. Which, the thing that's weird to me is I don't see Chrono Trigger anywhere.
It is weird because the Steam version it was rough to start with, but it got really good with a bunch of patches.
They patched it, yeah. They've been fixing it.
Yeah, the reputation of that game, I don't think it's really recovered, but it is a good port now. And it's so weird that it's just stuck on Steam.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean,
know.
I have a theory
Their
about.
styles
Yeah.
of games look well. Like
I'm
don't know why
thinking
they
the
think those
HD 2D
games
is going to
look
be the. I think the
Ooh.
HD 2D way is going to be the
Okay.
route that they take.
That's the
I mean, we'll
interesting
talk
part.
about that a little later,
Yeah.
but that's the route that I think we'll
Interesting.
take.
One more thing on Cross as well. This is the first time it's ever releasing in Europe. It was only in
Oh.
America and Japan to start with.
Interesting. I remember I rented. This is one of the PS1 rentals I had, and I had to rent it. I think over 3 weekends to beat it. So it was one of
See,
those
I-
multiple ones.
I just think Square's lineup from the Super Nintendo PS1 era is too important to leave to the past. So even if it's just a remaster, having them readily available. Because, man, if we get to a direct and they say, oh, Brave Fencer Musashi coming to Switch, I'm going to lose it.
Sure.
Like, it'll just be a basic upscale, but I'm going to still lose it because that would be incredible.
I think.
It may not be a full remake treatment, but it's still
Well,
cool, I think.
like I said, generations have been cycling through of gamers, and now there's probably a lot of people who have never played or even heard of Chrono Cross really, but they see it and they're like, "Oh, that's from like old Square." You know, they
Right.
bring it up now, and Radical Dreamers first time they've really ever touched that, like you said, outside of the Teleview. Why not see if they can
Yeah.
get some? It sounds like it's going to be a physical copy through Play Asia, I think.
Oh, interesting.
So
Okay.
that's at least what I was seeing kind of passed around online. So I might keep an eye on that one because I would like to get a. That'd be really weird to have that on a cartridge.
Totally.
So
Yeah.
definitely would have
Like
to do
Cross
that.
Cross
still
stands on
very-
its own. Cross is really good, but it is
That
enhanced
name,
by Chrono
yeah.
Trigger.
Yes.
Like if you've played Chrono Trigger, it is a better game for that. And it's so weird not to have like that context, you know?
Yep. All right, I'm gonna go over to AntDude for this one. Kirby and the
Wow.
Forgotten Land, March 25th. We already knew about that, but they showed off mouthful mode. Okay.
It's one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my entire life. This
What's
is
the
so
what's the
funny.
word on this Kirby game right now? From the Kirby fan
the Kirby man?
perspective, you've all basically always seen Kirby in like this 2D set. They've been, I don't want to say playing it safe, but following a formula. Now this is completely different. They just threw the rest of that stuff out the window. They're going full 3D.
Yeah, I mean, this is the game people have wanted for 15 years, like ever since the GameCube, where they had it like a little bit of 3D with Air Ride. We're finally getting the 3D game, and yeah, playing it safe was the concern. Star Allies, not the greatest.
I already forgot about
time.
that. I forgot about that like a
Yeah.
year later. I was like, oh yeah, that game did come out.
Yeah, and then they pumped out the couple eShop games, like Kirby Clash and Fighters, that didn't have much of a leg to stand on. So I was a little worried and skeptical. But man, they are really just Mario Odysseying the hell out of Kirby, and I am so excited. And I'm very happy to see everyone else excited. I haven't seen that much like excitement for a Kirby game, and I couldn't even tell
That's the
you
interesting
how long.
thing about
been
this.
ages.
I like you know they hit something here because I see people who just never talk about anything Kirby related. They're like, wow, that game actually looks pretty good. I'll check that out.
Yeah.
This might be Kirby's like big jumping off point here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Like Kirby's era on the 3DS was very, very impressive, but it didn't really spark a ton of conversation. This, like, I was worried it would just be like, oh, it's just a good, like, there had to be some sort of gimmick. But man, mouthful mode is one of the funniest names I've ever heard in my entire
You
life.
got a reaction from everybody, yeah.
That was amazing. I was dying the entire time. It led to amazing fan art on Twitter. Just the idea that there are things too big enough for Kirby to eat, so he just sort of like dangles over the item he tried to inhale. It's I'm so excited for this stupid game. And then of course we'll find like there's a demon at the end. You're gonna fight some Antichrist Satan thing at the end. It's gonna be the little fairy dude that's following you the entire time. It's gonna be the final boss. It's gonna be amazing.
I think they're gonna do some pretty cool like gameplay elements with that mouthful mode. I think there's gonna be one of those moments where you're like, oh geez, all right. Or he just inhales an entire building or something. So
Going into this direct, I was like, what more can they show for this game? Because I was already on board. All it had to do was be 3D Kirby. Like, everyone was already sold on that. But yeah, mouthful mode really does just give it this extra layer. And it's hilarious, but there's also so much functionality. Because it's more than just a copy ability. It kind of just changes how Kirby works. So it's really exciting. And I'm a Kirby fan, but I've not been like ridiculously enthralled by Kirby since... Well, I guess Robobot was the last one, but before that, there was a lot before that too. But now I'm really on board with this. This feels like it could be like one of the best Switch games potentially.
yeah, absolutely.
So happy.
And like I said, I think this could be its big jumping off point. Like how Luigi's Mansion 3 on the Switch exploded in sales. That's like coming up on 10 million or something like that now. I think this could be it for Kirby. Like I feel like this is going to do extremely well. Be the best selling one in the series. All of this, and maybe do they do two different Kirby games then? Do they do one that's like 2D all the time, and then they do one that's just 3D? And maybe Kirby could really blow up.
I think they said like Star Allies was the end of a certain era for
Yeah.
Kirby. They said like, oh, we're gonna move on, which I feel like they might still do kind of a new Super Mario Brothers kind of thing where you have 3D and 2D going in junction with each other. I don't think 2D is probably gonna go away entirely, but this seems like. This seems very much like a Super Mario 3D World situation to me, where it feels like kind of like taking 2D and just kind of like not doing something. They're not doing something completely brand new with Kirby, because this still looks like a Kirby game but played in 3D. But what I like about it is that they're not holding it back. They're not being like, well, the gimmick of this game is that it's 3D. It feels like this game. They're throwing everything at it, and it feels like HAL has been making 3D Kirby games their entire life with how this game looks. It doesn't look... It's not like how, like Pokemon Legends Arceus really surprised everybody with just how good it was. But it's still obviously like, oh, this is a stepping stone. This is like them kind of getting used to this thing, where Kirby and the Forgotten Land looks like this isn't like, oh, it's the first 3D Kirby game, give it some slack. This looks like they've been making 3D Kirby games forever at this point, like with how much they're throwing in here. And like even at the end of this trailer, they had like a bunch of stuff where it's just like, oh yeah, you build up the town, you do all this, you go to the shop and all this.
You can upgrade copy abilities too. Like that's really cool. That's never been done before.
Yeah, like they're throwing literally everything at this game, and I'm all for it. Star Allies really disappointed me, but Planet Robobot was phenomenal. That's like the best Kirby game.
Yeah.
So it's just like I knew they always had this in them, especially because there was a 3D Kirby game within Planet Robobot. It was like one of the side games. Yeah, like I think this looks absolutely fantastic. There's absolutely nothing that I think that you can even criticize about this game. It looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
Kirby's always been a recognizable character. Like, you don't have to play the games. You know who Kirby is. You see him, you're like, oh, that's Kirby. But I just feel like it hasn't had that massive, like, I don't want to say Breath of the Wild moment necessarily, but that massive game that, like, just pushes over the top and is like, all right, this is like their big 10 million seller or something like that.
I think the last time a Kirby game sparked a good amount of conversation was probably Epic Yarn.
Probably.
How many
that art style really blew everyone away. That was E3 2010. I don't know how much it sold, because I was like the end of the Wii era.
Yeah.
The sales were very strange, but it did spark conversation for the art style. But this is like, people will talk and people will buy it. It could be the biggest Kirby game ever.
I think I remember the Epic Yarn I think I remember the conversation being the game was like too easy or something.
Oh, after it came out, yeah.
Yeah,
but I just remember that being talked about a lot.
The hype up to
it. Yeah.
Well, either way, there was like, oh, Kirby doesn't inhale enemies in this one. He barely does copying, and like, oh, it's too easy. Oh, but it looks really good, and it's really nice and fun and all that. Like that had the most conversation around it. I'd agree with Ant, but everything past that has been like, oh, this is just kind of like another form of like Return to Dreamland style. Or there was like Rainbow. There was some weird stuff like Rainbow Curse, but even then, like, the conversation around that was just kind of the art style, and then after that, it was just kind of like, all right, it's there.
Yeah.
But this definitely has, like, I think everybody's looking at this because, like, I think everybody inherently, I think human beings inherently enjoy the concept of Kirby. But some games like Star Allies is just a little harder to like, oh yeah, this is great, because like it's a little too simplistic. I think this is something where I see everybody's like, yes, I'm behind this.
I'm surprised Kirby Fighters 2 didn't do that. I mean, that was...
Yeah, and it had online too.
Yeah.
I would disagree. Everybody was talking about that in my circle. Circle.
Maybe for the 2 days after it came out, and then that was about it.
It had a cool stage, but that was from the Kirby Fighters 1 game, the one that's based on Kirby's Adventure.
Yep.
That was pretty cool.
But the one more thing about this is that I'm surprised they didn't talk about this in Direct, but they said they have Kirby anniversary stuff planned for the year, with many other things and activities. I thought there'd be a Kirby Game & Watch thrown in there. If you're talking about a jumping off point, there will probably be more stuff. Maybe DLC for Forgotten Land, other Kirby titles, a Kirby live orchestra, something.
Kirby live orchestra.
But this will be the year, and I'm eating good.
All right, because about a month away.
Oh my god, it's so close.
Exciting stuff.
Well, you're gonna be saying that again because we've got MLB The Show.
I was about to say.
Oh, so close.
Transition to MLB The Show 22, April 5th. Sony logo right on the front.
That's the coolest thing about this game.
I wanted to buy the Show 21 on Xbox just because of that, and I might buy this on Switch just because of that, and then after that, never again.
Yeah.
It's like a cool
thing. It is that weird thing where it's like, there's a Sony logo right on the box for the Switch. I mean,
these games are all on Game Pass. if I want to play an MLB The Show game, I can just
I'll admit,
it
when they showed it reminded me very much of the PlayStation 3 version. From what they were showing.
Oh, it did not look good.
Yeah, I was looking. I was like, oh man, it has cross progression, so I guess technically you could be playing at home. You could transfer it to your Switch if you have to go on a trip or something and take your season with you. But I feel like there are a lot of people who want that high frame rate experience or high frame, like 60 frames per second, all of this on like their PlayStation or their Xbox. Yeah. I also think a lot of people have been playing the show on PlayStation for so long that it's cool that it's there, but they probably have their mind made up for like the PS4 or the PS5 version anyway.
I mean, the Vita I mean, since the Vita's dead, MLB hasn't. MLB used to come out on the Vita as well, so it's just.
I actually played it there quite a bit.
You have that option if you want it. Yeah, you have that option if you need it. I think a game, even if this game it looks really rough, I think it's good that it's on there. It's something where it's just like, this is the type of game that it's just like, the reason why it went multi-platform is that MLB wants it on as many platforms as possible. Yeah. So, you know what? If they're, for MLB fans that want to bring this on the go, like, I think great, fine option. It may look a little rough, but I'm sure in portable mode, it's like, this suffices. But, I think if they talk about this at another Direct, I'm going to lose it. I'm like, this time it's fine, because you got the PlayStation logo in a Direct. That's kind of cool. Other than that, I'm like,
You can get physical Switch games that have a PlayStation logo and an Xbox logo on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of funny to think that Sony San Diego has like Switch dev kits in their studio and their work. Times have changed so much. They then transitioned into Kingdom Hearts Masterpiece for Cloud. That's already out.
Ooh.
Okay,
it's
hold on.
$90.
You posted something on Twitter that I had to talk about. Well, I think you like retweeted something. It was about how the sales starts are reflecting people actually buying this thing.
Why?
Japan, it's number 2 in Japan.
Yeah, I get Japan.
I think a lot of people don't know any better.
I thought about this.
Probably.
I'm like, I wonder if people bought it thinking it was just Kingdom Hearts natively, and they got it, and they're like, oh, I have to stream this.
And Cloud's in the game, too?
Dude,
I've
think
legit
that's
had
on
this conversation
purpose.
a few times. Some people, I say, like, they ask, what is Cloud? What does Cloud mean? I think people just don't know.
Yeah.
And I guess you can't blame them, because they don't really explain it. They don't say this is a PC version being streamed to your Switch. They just say it's Kingdom Hearts Cloud. Yeah, that sucks. It's number 2 in Japan. I kind of get that, because they're more adapted to Cloud stuff.
Number 16
it's number
in the US.
18 in the US, though. Or 16.
It moved up
number
to 16
in the
yeah.
US. Yep. That's high. That's pretty high for what this is.
Yep. Cloud.
I think this is kind of unacceptable for Square Enix.
It's very unacceptable.
At least for the first 2 games. I mean, 2.8 is the 3DS game. It was on the 3DS. Like, I'm just like, this is unacceptable. I don't really know why they like. It's the idea that, like, okay, they want to put out something after Sora got into Smash. I get that, but the fact that they didn't already have this in development. I mean, I'm just like, why?
I mean, let's be looking at this though. They have they're charging what you said was $90 for the cloud version for everything.
$90. Yeah.
People would have paid $100 for like the boxed cartridge copy. Like, even if there's 2 cartridges in there, you got to pay a little more. People would have paid $100 for it. Kingdom Hearts fans would have absolutely gone crazy over that. So yeah, it is that there's them thinking, oh, this will at least get us something, and I mean, it did. So I don't know, maybe they'll do more.
Did Melody of Memory not do that well on Switch? Do they have sales data that?
I wonder if that game did well at all.
Wouldn't buy Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Do they have sales data that suggests that people wouldn't buy Kingdom Hearts on Switch?
I mean, it's nuts.
I don't know.
Technically, I can buy into technical shortcomings, because it was ported from PS2 to PS3 to PS4, so we're probably working with the PS4 version here. But they basically remade Kingdom Hearts 1 for PS3 in the first place, because they lost the source code.
They had to remake it.
And if it was worth the effort to do all of that for PlayStation 3, then I can't fathom why it wouldn't be worth the effort to do it for Switch as well, because there's clearly a big demand for it on Switch.
Yeah.
A No Man's Sky native port was in the same Direct. Like, doesn't make any sense.
And then
I don't know. I would have taken Square Enix just pirating the game, torrenting the game online, and just porting the PS2 version. That would have been better. People wouldn't have cared as much as this one. Like, I'm serious. Like, I don't know. I'm not a fan. Next announcement's pretty cool.
So you guys need to explain this one to me, because I never got into this series. That's Klonoa. It's getting a collection.
This is your time.
Okay,
this is your chance.
It's July 8th.
John, we did it.
July 8th.
If you need an explanation, it's just a good 2D platformer.
It's a good 2D platformer.
With 3D elements. Thank you very much.
It's a magical.
This was
2D
during the
platformer.
2.5D era on the PS1, right?
Yeah.
This is the game that popularized 2.5D because the backgrounds are completely, 3D, as in like.
I just remember that was a big thing during the PS1 where they were like, it's 2D, but wait, it's also kind of 3D, and they would like run to like the background or come back to you, or something in the background be like 3D. Okay, right. Klonoa.
I mean, it just helps that the games are also really good.
Yeah.
They're just these really, really charming with really fun mechanics. Like, the soundtracks are fantastic. The stories are really nice and endearing that pull on the heartstrings in way more ways than you would expect them to.
The ending might make you cry. It's very touching.
Yeah.
It was more
Klonoa 2,
than I
I think, is
thought.
one of the best 2D platformers.
I think that's really cool that they included too.
Yeah.
Because with the patents, they were just like, oh, Klonoa Encore, which implied that it might be kind of like, oh, it's just maybe the first one remade. But no, I think it's awesome that 2 is there because 2 is really hard. Like, at least 1, you get the Wii remake, so you can kind of play it a little bit, and it's fairly easy to. It's a little more accessible. 2 is like
These games are expensive.
They are expensive, especially the first one. And I was expecting just raw ports. I thought they would port the Wii game and the PS2 game, but Klonoa 2 is a full-on, I don't want to say remake, but it's a remaster. Like, all the assets are redone.
Yeah.
Everything's just completely, like, all textures are redone. Klonoa 1, it looks like it's based on the Wii version, but they've given it a much higher contrast. They've given them the cuter, smaller
they
PS1
fixed the
model.
Character model.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy about that.
This is like way further ahead than what I thought they would do. It looks like really high quality.
Yeah, I went back and watched the Wii version. The colors were like oddly washed out, like way more than I remember them being. So they really fixed up that first game.
Yeah, there's some bloom that's maybe a bit too high in the remake, but I think for the most part it works.
Okay. I'll be checking it out. We'll see what this is.
Also, the Wii game had just straight up English voice acting, and I hope they remove that. Just forget that ever happened because it wasn't good.
I think they're testing the waters maybe for a new one.
You can make that excuse for any. I mean, you can make that argument for any remake coming out. I think that'd be really cool. They do a new one. Okay. Either way, I'm not getting my hopes up, but I think it's really cool to see a lot of games like this actually get a second chance and be also accessible on the Switch.
We had the
Klonoa Wii.
Just in general, on every platform. It's on every platform.
Yeah.
You can play Klonoa on your Xbox Series X.
There you go.
With Klonoa Wii, that was testing the waters for a port of 2. And if a port of 2 did well, that's testing the waters for a sequel. And Klonoa Wii did not do well. So
I feel like the sales of the Wii game were in the thousands.
Oh no!
Yeah, hopefully we've been pushing hard enough these years to make people play it. Like, we've been vocal on Twitter, and hopefully this has pushed people.
It's because we did it.
Yeah,
the trademark didn't do it. Well, that's the thing is they trademarked that like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
they trademarked it like around the same time as Mr. Driller, and they announced Mr. Driller immediately, and they just kept the carrot dangling for Klonoa fans ever since.
There is a beach volleyball game on PS1.
That's true.
It's also true.
We had the Portal.
No, never came out over here.
Portal Companion Collection.
That's so cool. That's really cool. Valve haven't done a console port since was it Global Offensive on PS3 and 360?
Did you check in with Waddle Dee Knows first? So I heard like Half-Life 2 is coming. And, yeah, Portal. It was interesting to see Valve like make an appearance here with Portal Companion Collection. Although I think I would have liked to see just do the orange box. Just do that.
That would have been cool.
I'd be all right.
It's
but this also includes Portal 2, which is still really
Portal
cool.
2 is very good. Yeah,
that's nice.
It's neat seeing Nvidia do this. And as Waddle Dee Knows said, Nvidia did the ports for Half-Life 2 and Portal on the Nvidia Shield. So there's a chance Half-Life 2 is on the way as well.
I would buy Half-Life 2 if it came to the Switch, just because that would be an interesting port to see. And Half-Life 2 is still very
good. Is Companion Collection also coming to like the other platforms as well? Just because Portal 2 isn't available on like PS4 or PS5. Yeah, okay.
That's weird. Yeah,
It is weird.
Then we had another. Again, out of nowhere, no one saw this one coming. Live Alive. We now know how it's pronounced, by the way, because I've been saying Live Alive forever. It's Live Alive. July 22nd. And it's done in HD 2D.
Yep.
So cool.
What?
Yeah, I can't believe it.
It's a golden era Square Enix RPG that we've never played.
I love that they figured out this art style. Because like I feel like it's right there. It's perfect when it comes down to being able to budget and bring back a game like this and release it outside of like Japan. Because this is a game that people always wanted to find reproduction carts for if they were in English, like just translated for their Super Nintendo. People would buy them at conventions all the time. And I remember playing it at one point, but it didn't really click that well with me because the translation was pretty bad. But
sure.
I mean, July 22nd, it looks like it's on the Switch, physical copy, the whole deal.
Yeah, Nintendo's publishing it.
Yeah, I gotta pick it up physical and everything. I want to.
It's so weird
because people.
I love this.
There's a few people who saw this and really were like, "This is it. This is the best announcement from the Direct," because they have history with it. I saw Pierre Schneider over on Twitter make an entire thread about this thing, and it sounds like an interesting concept that we just were never able to play. Really.
Yeah.
Oh, this was like when I saw the trailer, everything they were showing about this game, just like how the fact that it pretty much has like all these different campaigns pretty much. And I saw it and it's like, okay, so this is a Japanese only game that never came out here. I assumed this was like from the PS1. I was like, oh yeah, this is probably from the PS1, with just how complex this game is, like story-wise. And then when I saw like, oh, copyright 1994, and I looked and it's a Super Famicom game, that is unbelievably impressive with how complex this game seems, just from a story perspective and just from everything. I originally thought, like, just from the trailer, I potentially thought they were doing like an Earthbound remake in HD 2D. Just from like seeing some of the more modern style, like some of the modern settings, I was like, which I don't think I would accept that, but I think Earthbound would work better like from like Grezzo or something like that.
Yeah.
I think this looks phenomenal. And that might be weird coming from me, but I think this looks great. And it's a shorter game, too.
Yeah,
like 20 hours long.
Yeah, they have all the different characters, and they have different gameplay styles when you play through their I guess their story, and then they somehow intertwine and all of this. It's an interesting concept that just not a lot of people got to play. So I'm pretty excited to pick this one up.
Like you said, I'm just happy this engine is getting used. Like, there's also Dragon Quest 3.
Yep.
Like, I thought that would
looks
show
incredible.
up. Dragon Quest 3 is getting a remake.
That's not even confirmed for over here yet. That's not even confirmed for over here yet. And
Seriously.
We don't know the platforms for that game yet.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And with Live Alive, it has Chrono Trigger talent. Like, people who made Chrono Trigger are involved with that game, which is so
Yoko
cool.
Shimomura does the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be so good.
Yeah.
That's like her first game, too. I think this was her first game.
Yeah. And they've
I
really
think
refined
Live Alive
the
makes
look.
more sense.
Live Alive.
Yeah,
That's what I said, but now they're like Live Alive. I'm like, I've been
Live
saying
Alive
it wrong
makes
for
sense.
so
It's
long.
like a bunch of different lives. It's a bunch of different lives, and you live them. I don't get the pronunciation Live Alive, but I'm sorry for cutting you off, John.
Oh, that's
What
cool.
were you saying?
I was just saying they've really refined the look of HD 2D. Like, Octopath looked good, but there's also a lot of effects on the screen at once. And they've refined that a lot with Dragon Quest and I guess Triangle Strategy as well. But yeah, Live Alive looks great.
I do suspect that, honestly, Chrono Trigger will finally get a remake in this engine.
It feels
I think they have the engine that will make it work, because they can't do a 3D engine. They will not get it right.
Oh, it'll look
I think
weird.
if they just do, it'll be terrible.
Yeah.
But I think
Like
this
a game
engine,
like
they could do it.
Trials of Mana. Like a game like Trials of Mana is good, but it's also like if they do that with Chrono Trigger, it would not.
They're going to make
It
people
wouldn't
really
go
mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I like the idea of the HD2D just being used consistently. Just go grab a bunch of older games, redo it in that style, release physical copies, so I can collect them and all that. I like that idea a lot.
Also, these games are coming out quick.
There's still some weird.
July.
There's still some weird RPGs in their back catalog. They could go get. There's like Emerald Dragon. That was one.
Emerald Dragon. There's Bahamut Lagoon.
Do you think I did mention that I thought it was potentially going to be like an Earthbound remake? Do you think they would do something where they're not doing a Square Enix game? And since Nintendo works with Square Enix a lot on these, they could do something like they've done stuff where like, I don't know, a company licenses. That would be weird in HD 2D.
I think there's a high chance. I mean, we've had Advance Wars by WayForward. We've had Famicom Detective Club by Majors. It does seem like Nintendo are outsourcing their remakes of more niche franchises. And like Golden Sun feels like the likely candidate for that next.
That would be interesting.
What about like Star Tropics?
That would be very
They're more of an
interesting.
action game.
You already got Kirby,
I think that would be
okay? Kirby's
pretty much
coming out
perfect.
this year. Okay, let's relax a little bit here. You need Star Tropics too. Then we had. Okay, so this is. Scott apparently had stuff to say about this one. Nintendo Switch Sports, April 29th.
I got.
There's gonna be a playtest session this week that has happened. Depending on when you're watching this, may have already happened. Okay,
right.
Switch Sports. It
All
looks
right.
like
First off.
Wii Sports, but it's gonna have bowling, of course, badminton.
Let's just sit back for a bit.
Yeah.
while
Okay.
Scott
Go ahead,
takes
Scott.
it.
Tell me about
All
this
right.
game.
All right, so a lot of people have some problems with this game. I'm not going to deny them, but I'm going to set some things straight here. Okay, so first off, the main thing, the sports mates, as they're called. Disgusting. They look gross. Well, all right, from a design perspective, they're not bad, but they aren't Wii Sports. And I think it all comes down to the eyes. The eyes are soulless. They all have the same eyes. I think that's messed up. And then you have the sports selections themselves. Bowling's great, tennis great, Chumbara, which was sword play in Wii Sports Resort. Fine. The other 3 sports they chose, I don't get it. Badminton should be just an option that you select when you pick tennis. Volleyball, you have a similar court to tennis, so it's just like, all right, you have 2 new sports that it's just like no visual differences. And then you have soccer, which is fine, but I feel like it's kind of in that weird space where it may be too simple, where you just hit, and that's it. Or when you put an analog stick in there, you have to move the analog stick to move your character. That's gonna turn my mom off so hard. And then you have the leg strap, which is cool, but then the updates are being added, and I'm just like, why are you launching this game right now when you could wait a little bit to do this? With all that being said, I pre-ordered it. I'm so excited.
You are so right though, Scott. When looking at those 3 sports, like they are all just court-based versions of tennis. I know simplifying volleyball as a version of tennis is wrong, but like it is.
It doesn't have its visual
like.
identity. It looks very similar.
Yeah, and it's cool that golf is coming, but why isn't golf there at the start?
Golf
Golf
it
is
was
one of the
included in
most...
the first Wii Sports.
Sounds like
Exactly.
a Nintendo sports game from the Switch.
Yeah.
If it was a
right.
brand new sport that was being added later, I would totally understand that. But I don't know. And also, like motion controlled volleyball, I've just never really gelled with. I feel like it's just kind of like hit, and you can make that excuse for tennis, but there's a bit more like, it depends on like, the positioning of your hand and all of that and all that. Like I feel like volleyball has never really gelled well for me when like they do it in like the Wii Shovelware collections or even like Sports Champions on the PlayStation Move or junk like that. I don't know. I mean, like this is gonna do really well. I don't know if it'll do as well as we may expect it, considering the popularity of Wii Sports. But I think they put it out at the right time, weirdly enough. They're not putting a lot into this. It's just like, hey, we already passed 100 million. Let's do it.
I mean,
why not?
Yeah,
just throw it out then.
It's something that could
not banking on it.
keep momentum going for the Switch. I mean, they're already gonna have a hard time selling or producing enough to sell, but this could be their shot. Like, okay, we do, like you said, we have 100 million people already on board. Let's see if we can take a shot at that casual audience who just liked bowling or just bought a Wii to play tennis and Wii Sports and stuff. And let's just drop it for $40 on the eShop and see what happens.
Yeah. Only $40, not a bad price, because that was the same price as Wii Sports Club on the Wii U, which was a remake of Wii Sports, which yeah, everybody loved that one. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in this. I'm definitely gonna try out the online play.
Online play. There's gonna be online play for this stuff too.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
They had it for Wii Sports Club as well. Yeah. They could have just ported that game.
Hey, I've not kept up with Clubhouse Games' sales since last year, but I remember it sold over 3 million, which for context, that's more than Xenoblade. It's more than Fire Emblem. It's more than so many of their core franchises. And that's for Clubhouse Games, a game that people don't remember from the DS. And I remember playing Clubhouse Games, and they had stuff that resembled Wii Sports. Like, you've got bowling, which is close, and they're like, for some reason, it's just 2-player. But now we have the full-fledged bowling. It's like this is kind of the complete experience that I felt like I was getting a little taste of when Clubhouse Games came along.
Yep.
This just kind of, it kind of fulfills the
I
vision.
wouldn't be shocked if this game somehow sold 10 million copies.
I think 20 million is on the table.
Will.
Like, this is a kind of game that like Sony and Microsoft look at Nintendo with and just have to get so mad. Because it's like, this game is not going to cost Nintendo much at all to make. Like, I think most people look at it as pretty obvious. And it's going to sell, like you said, I'm sure 20 million could be on the table here. But I feel like 10 million isn't going to be difficult for it to reach, just based on what we've seen with like Clubhouse or the popularity of Wii Sports on the Wii. And it'll probably work to even move systems. People might legitimately spend $300, $350 for the Switch and then another 40 or so on top of that for this game. As weird as that sounds.
This might be a new pack-in. This might be the new Black Friday pack-in.
Oh, I would do that immediately.
They do Mario Kart 8 all the time. Yep. So, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Wii Sports is something where I don't think anybody's really been able to replicate it, even Nintendo to some extent. Because you look at like all the shovelware from the Wii, and then you look at Microsoft and Sony's offerings with Kinect Sports and like Sports Champions on the PS Move. And a lot of them are okay, but like they never really like fit the same kind of charm and the same like level of like fluidness of Wii Sports. And even then, like I'm worried about that because like bowling in Clubhouse Games was pretty good. I thought it was fine. But that control was still a little like with the Joy-Con. I felt like the motion control was still a little too It was either not sensitive enough or too sensitive. Yeah, so it's definitely it all comes down to the control here. If the control is good, then this is going to be a surefire hit. But it just kind of depends on how good bowling and tennis. I think tennis will be fine. Bowling is the main one. That is
one weird thing is the casuals love like a little bonus that comes with the game. And Wii Sports was included with the Wii. Wii Sports Resort had Motion Plus. Like Wii Play had a Wii remote. They always bundle these games with something else. And I know there is a bundle. Doesn't it come with like a
comes
leg
with
strap?
the leg strap. The same leg strap that you get with Ring Fit.
Is that enough?
Leg strap, they just found it in their warehouse. Who cares? Like, I don't...
Wii Sports hasn't
whatever.
proven that it can sell on its own, is what I'm kind of, like trying to get at. Like Wii Sports Club, like they experimented, but that was Wii Sports Club, where most people don't even know that game exists. So I wonder if it's powerful enough to sell without a pack-in.
I mean, it's also a
If they
weird
had a
idea because
new
who's even going to use the leg strap? Like, I feel like that'd be a cool novelty once. Like, oh wow, I kicked and it worked. Time to
It's
take that
available at
off.
launch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you can only use it for just kicking into the goal. You can't even play regular soccer with it at launch. Which that also brings up. Do you think they're gonna update this as time goes on? Golf is promised right now, but they could. Add more
I wouldn't be shocked if they did
I
that.
imagine.
Maybe they do like even
Baseball's missing too.
Yeah, baseball's missing. That was one I thought about. I guess they're not going to do boxing anymore.
Maybe not.
That would have been great.
I don't know.
There's some resort
That'd be
games they
great.
can do as
Are you
well.
allowed to
like
do that
there's the,
nowadays? I don't know. Can they do boxing?
Anything would have been better than badminton. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm upset about that.
This is more work than they really need to
wasted
do.
it.
Period. They could just ported Wii
They
Sports
could have just
Resort
done
and
that.
called it a
Yeah.
day.
Ugh. Let's see.
Anyway, I'm pissed off. I can't wait to play it. I don't know. Either way, I mean, it does show like, hey, they're willing to bring back some of this stuff. Because it felt like with Clubhouse, they were just like, all right, we're gonna do kind of some Wii Sports and Wii Play stuff, but we're not gonna call it Wii Sports or Wii Play. And here they just gave up, and they're just like, it's back. Who cares? So like, I don't know. We might see music come back. We might see Fit come back.
Nintendo Switch
We might
Play.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, we might see Play come back. We
Nintendo
might see
Switch
Party
Chess.
come back. Yeah,
We've
I'm
got to
down.
have chess.
I'm down. I can't. We might get the panorama view from the Wii
Oh,
U.
wow.
I don't know. There's a lot
We
of
Street
stuff.
U.
There's a lot of stuff. We karaoke you. There's all that. There's two. There's a lot. Anyway, I'm sorry. We can talk about Taiko.
We're going into the back
from-
third of the direct now with Taiko
Yeah.
no Tatsuniden. Anyone play
Yes.
this?
So this
Yeah.
game was on Game Pass, wasn't it, beforehand?
Oh,
I
was
don't
it?
think this is the same Taiko.
Is this a different Taiko?
This has different. This has music
I mean,
from.
it's just a different track
they
list.
added like music from Legend of Zelda, for example, into it.
I mean, I play Taiko. I have one of the drums. I have like one of the third-party drums that you can get for the Switch. The game itself, whatever. It's just another track list. The thing that excites me is you can do the subscription service on top of it to get 500 plus songs on top of the already included track list, and that's kind of cool.
Do you know how much
be
that
like
costs?
the ultimate Taiko.
Do you know how much that costs, the subscription?
No,
I
so
don't
it
know
could be
either.
an exorbitant amount of money, and I'll take it all
This is
back.
Konami, right? Because they've
No, there's
Namco.
Namco.
Oh, okay. What did they have? They had something in Japan that was selling really, really well, and I think it was always next to this game. For some
It's
reason,
that
it was
Monopoly game.
Dance
It
Revolution.
was something. I'm trying to remember what they had, but it was up
They've
there. And
got
it was
some
like,
kind
how is
of,
this always selling well right next to Taiko?
Oh, yeah.
It would always take
Yeah,
like.
I forget the title, but it's some sort of Monopoly party game.
I would
that
just
they
always
do.
look at it and be like, how is that right next to Taiko? Like Taiko always does.
Isn't that like
well.
Billion Road or something?
Yeah, it was
Something like
I don't know.
And we move on to.
I will say for the Taiko games, these don't work well without the drums. You need the drums.
I'm saying
I
you
tried
can
playing with,
get the drums on the
Joy-Con.
Switch.
Yeah, like, so you need that. But
Triangle strategy, shown again.
This is their death loop, isn't it? They just keep showing it over and over again. It's like it's probably going to be good, but I've had enough.
I've already been like committed to this game and all this, but they had the demo come out, and you can play through like the first 3 chapters, and then your save data just rolls into the full
think-
game.
with the HD 2D, it's a beautiful style, but I think that isn't a potential issue with doing this with multiple different games. Is that when you have Live Alive, I don't care if it's pronounced Live Alive, I'll say Live Alive. But then you have Triangle Strategy, and this is the umpteenth time we've seen it. And then on top of, we've already seen the Dragon Quest one. You know, I do worry if they do too many of them, it's going to kind of like be like a lot of games that look the same. It looks gorgeous. But it is something where triangle strategy is something you see the first trailer, you get it.
Yep.
You get it.
Yeah.
I think the people who are into it, they're like, all right, I'm down. And then seeing it for the 5th time, I mean, we've probably only seen it like 3 times, but
I'm picking it up
come out,
right
it'll be
away.
good.
Already got the demo, started playing through that. It's good. So
I mean, that stuff's cool. I like that idea of these RPGs having demos that just transfer to the main
Square's
game.
been doing
Dragon
that a
Quest
lot.
did that. Like Bravely did that. Like that's a genius idea for long RPGs. So that's cool.
Dragon Quest gave you like the first 10 hours of the game or something.
It was chunky, yeah.
Yeah.
Which was, I mean, it's a great idea. That
So-
game, you spend over 100 hours easy in it. Let's see. We had Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course, June 30th. Downloadable content.
This would have been cooler if it weren't in the Game Awards. It just kind of felt like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool to see it, but it's just like, we know about this.
Yep. We had Metroid Dread free
Here's a reminder.
update. Got the
Sweet.
very hard difficulty mode where you just
No,
die in one hit.
No, I'm
Not-
not
yeah.
doing that.
Absolutely
I'm not
not.
doing that. I spent way too long beating that game. I'm not gonna do. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
It is very funny to like introduce accessibility by making the game easier, and then just doing like the exact opposite at the same time.
They're also gonna have boss rush
The
mode
boss
come
rush
up as
is
well.
cool.
Yep.
That's cool because one of Metroid Dread's strengths is just how good the bosses are.
Yep.
Those bosses are like some of the best bosses in 2D.
And they
2D
continue to
history.
update it, which tells me it's going to be in the best-selling Metroid game pretty soon. Actually, probably the next time they report numbers, it'll be the best-selling one. So setting
yeah.
up Metroid Prime 4
That's exciting.
for a good reveal at some point.
I'm surprised they didn't do. There's the rumored Metroid Prime remaster.
Yeah,
This one.
yeah,
I felt like
Yeah.
I felt like that would have been because I feel like for scrubs like me, starting with Fire Emblem and ending with Xenoblade, I'm just like I don't know about this, man. But then if you start with like a Metroid Prime remaster or something like that, I don't know. That might have evened things out. But Fire Emblem's coming out sooner, so that's fine.
I am getting very tired of the Metroid Prime. It's not that this isn't the place for that conversation, but I'm getting very tired of those rumors. So I kind of want them to announce it just so
Yeah.
we can move on with our lives.
Well,
Totally.
Maybe over the summer. Earthbound Beginnings hit Nintendo Switch Online immediately. They didn't say anything about Mother 3.
This is
They just
definitely
walked
them.
right past it.
Like in September, they will announce GBA coming to Switch, and Mother 3 will be there. It'll be the biggest news story of the holiday season.
Then 1,000 people will download it, and that's it.
Correct.
I that's the
I,
biggest thing right now. The only reason I really want them to release a Mother 3 like game on the Switch and do it physically, I want to see the sales numbers for this thing because I would pick up Mother 3 immediately, but I feel like there's so much noise being made about it online. I do genuinely want to see what the sales numbers would look like for that game.
For sure.
I am getting kind of tired of them kind of dangling Earthbound like a carrot in front of us when it's not hard for them to do this. They could have done this months ago, yet they made this a huge deal in the Direct where I'm like, they did this with the Wii U. They announced that was coming to Virtual Console like 6 months before it did. And then they had this whole ad campaign, and then it was a part of the new 3DS, and then the SNES Classic. So it's just like, this isn't hard for them to do, and they're just kind of dangling this constantly, where I'm like, this is great that it's here. I think Earthbound deserves to be on, like, accessible. But, you know, I just feel like, at this point, like, do something with this franchise. You're willing to put this big headline in this Direct and be like, look what's finally coming. And they've done this countless times. Where I'm just like, remake one of them. You know, that would be amazing. That would be amazing to see a remake or even just like a compilation of everything on like a, you know, on a game card or something.
Yeah,
like
if they
that.
did
I don't know.
Beginnings, Earthbound, and then Mother 3 on one cart, that'd be pretty cool. I'd buy that.
I was holding out hope for that.
If they were all...
It's very weird that they waited until now. Because they've not updated the NES and Super Nintendo app in like a year. And the last time they did it was like, here's Jelly Boy. And there was clearly still big games to bring along. And it was so weird to just keep waiting for Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings. But it is cool that Beginnings is coming, because for some reason that was only a Wii U game in that era. 3DS never got it. So most people probably never played Beginnings. So that's awesome. But at the same time, it feels like this. It's like a lesser impact of what it could have been. Because I was hoping for a remake, but still.
Dude,
it's
especially like the entire day was Shigesato Itoi tweeting and making all these teases. So by the time that came where it was just ports, it was like, okay, Itoi probably didn't know what he was doing. But it was just a whole day of like, oh my god, is this the day? Is this the day where it's happening? It's like, oh no, a Super Nintendo game again, cool.
Yeah.
I just find it interesting. They're willing to fund stuff like Live Alive. Well, Nintendo might not be funding that specifically, but you know, they're willing to do stuff like this. They're willing to, you know, publish that kind of stuff. So it shows, and they're willing to put this all in a Direct, whatever. Like, you know, And like Itoy is obviously down for it. He wants to see more Earthbound stuff. He obviously showed a lot of excitement with this announcement. So I don't know. It just seems like something that I hope they do that sometime. But it's great the originals are here though.
Yeah. Itoy is always merchandising Earthbound as well. They're always selling Mother stuff in Japan, and there's a fan trailer for a remake at the moment. Yep. It's not in production; it's just a video. And I think it's Curiomatic that's how you pronounce it. Yeah. And Itoy retweeted it. So clearly,
that's awesome.
Clearly, he wants this stuff to happen, and hopefully, it will happen one day. But it's such a good trailer, though. I urge everyone to watch it. They did a fantastic job.
Do you think
redoing all the assets?
Do you think some of the contents in Mother 3 is the biggest thing for Nintendo right now? Is why they're like unsure if they can deal with that or like really put that out there with their image? Yeah.
Lucas goes on a drug trip. Lucas legitimately eats mushrooms and goes on a drug trip, and I'm sure that's a conversation Nintendo doesn't want to have.
I think there's a lot in that game.
Slap a T or an M-rated game. Slap an M rating on it. Just pop it.
I don't think they need that.
Warning in front of the game.
I think they'd be able to release under a teen rating technically, like if they really wanted to just leave it as it is. But it would bring up a lot of conversations on social media, I think, because there are a lot of people asking for it who haven't played it.
I think a remake would allow them to go in and tweak things, though. I think a problem is porting or just putting out like the GBA ROM.
Yeah.
That could potentially be an issue. I think remaking allows them to go back and address some things that may not work today and change them, because that's the entire point. That's what Nintendo does this all the time. They do that all the time with localizations and remakes and all that. So,
would you then make the hardcore fan base really mad, because then you change like
whatever, you get the game.
Either way, but either way is what I'm saying.
I'd rather have it than not have it. At the same time, though, who under the age of 18 is going to play Mother 3?
That's the biggest thing.
If it's rated M, that's not limiting anyone.
I think it is a smaller number of people who really want this game to come out, but it'd be nice to see Nintendo figure it out and finally get it out there so it can not be on everyone's bingo card every time a Nintendo Direct happens.
Yeah.
We had just a compilation of games very quickly, like a quick sizzle reel. Zombie Army 4, Getsu Fumaden, Demon Slayer, Lego Brawls, 2 Point Campus. Any comment on any of those?
I'm down to talk about these for 40 minutes.
Thank God. Yeah, Lego Smash Brothers. It's finally here.
Well,
I think that was an Apple Arcade game. It was. Yes, like that.
Well, then we got a very surprising announcement from Nintendo. We had two last announcements. One of them was downloadable content booster course pass for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, 48 tracks over 6 waves, and the first wave is March 18th. Did anyone really expect this when they started talking about Mario Kart, that we were going to get downloadable content for a game that came out in 2014? Technically,
an expanded version of a game that came out for Wii U is getting DLC 5 years after the expanded version came out. Like, it's so weird. And I was looking into what Tour had, because obviously a lot of the tracks are ported or remastered from Tour. I think Tour had 37 tracks total, and there's 48 here.
Oh, okay.
And we know of some new ones, like Coconut Mall is brand new. So there's like at least like 12 or 13 brand new tracks that we're getting here that weren't in Tour. So that's kind of interesting to speculate about, rather than just speculating about 48 random tracks. Kind of limits the discussion a little bit. But yeah, how weird? How weird is this?
I think it makes the most sense in the world. I don't think Mario Kart 9 will happen forever. And this game is selling the stupidest numbers I've ever seen in my entire life. So this makes all the sense in the world.
I think you see every side of this. It makes total sense for them from a business perspective. I see some people that are kind of complaining about the fact that a lot of these look, the art style of these are from Tour. Like it looks like some of these are just ported straight from Tour. It's something like that's something to bring up. It's just like, oh, that's unfortunate. I don't really think it matters at all, though. It's something where like this is DLC coming out 5 years later. The team has moved on. They're just kind of giving you this as a bonus. And you're getting 48 new tracks, 50 cents per track. Thank you.
It's good value.
That's pretty good.
I think. I'm just like, because like you look at the trees and the terrain and all that, and it doesn't match up with the other ones. But in game, like when you're playing the tracks, like I don't really think it's gonna matter. A lot of the same people that would complain, like, oh, all this stuff is coming to Mario Kart Tour. Why isn't this stuff coming to Mario Kart 8? So Nintendo's like, all right, let's be resourceful. Let's pop this stuff in Mario Kart 8. Now it's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So like, I'm cool with it. Obviously, like I would prefer if they they spruced them up a bit more, but it's 48 new tracks for $25. It's really hard to complain about that. It's just more stuff, like it gives them more value to the expansion pack. It gives them more DLC to kind of bring you into the hype cycle, all of that. Like, this is just kind of like it's just a consistent win. I don't know. I'm happy with this.
To go off the expansion pack as well, like, it felt like that there was always something missing with that, because it was Animal Crossing and N64. And clearly that wasn't like the most robust value, and it felt like there was more to tell, and clearly there is. So hopefully from here on in, like, most DLC is included in this. But it really does make N64 feel like more of a bonus than the whole point of that pack. Because if you're buying, the expansion pack, you're just getting Mario Kart DLC, which pretty much every Switch owner has.
Is that the precedent that's been set now? You think any major downloadable content for first-party titles should be in there?
I would hope so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think most full first party stuff.
I'm asking a lot of people that question just to see when they announce something that's not.
I don't think like if Legends Arceus gets DLC, that'll be a part of it. But I think if Splatoon 3 gets DLC, that'll be a part of it.
If Breath of the Wild 2 gets DLC, it'll be part of it.
Yeah. If Smash Brothers was like a thing, I don't know, because that involves third party. If the Smash Brothers DLC Fighter Pass came out after this, but with that being third party stuff, that might be a little tricky. I don't know, but I think at least like stuff like this, like Breath of the Wild 2 gets an expansion pass, that'll probably be a part of those.
Okay.
The worst thing about this is every time a direct airs, we're going to be like, oh, what Mario Kart tracks are going to show? Like, that's it? No Kart? Like, it's just been endless.
It's the Smash situation all over again. I mean, they're going to run this until the end of...
these are coming out consistent.
By the end of 2023, they'll have completed the pass. So, yeah, they're going to have quite a few times to announce these. And I guess that tells us that we're not seeing the next Mario Kart until 2024 at the earliest.
That's a next-gen game. Not even because there's going to be at least a 1-year buffer after the booster course pass. So 2025,
I think they're
maybe.
at least working on it. They're at least working on it. I think Nintendo's given the Mario Kart team like an unlimited budget at this point, and they're just like, spend 10 years making this game, because this is obviously done. This is probably done by a younger team that's just like, here's some tour courses to remaster, and just remaster some other courses, blah blah blah. Because like I feel like this is more so Nintendo's just kind of like, hey, we could do this. This brings value to it, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still selling, so let's do it. I think they're still working on Mario Kart 9. I
wonder if they've. Oh, first off, I asked a question about the Mario Kart series because they showed us a chart for it, right? And I had to annoy people, of course, online when I asked this. But is Mario Kart Tour Mario Kart 9?
Technically, Nintendo considers it. I think the following game.
Okay, I don't think the next Mario Kart's going to be numbered, so we'll never know.
Good. So because I'm looking at this, and I feel like Nintendo realized that Mario Kart 8 is this game they probably could have continued to support over the course of 10 years. Because they're going to.
I think this is it. I think this is going to be it for Mario Kart 8.
I think, but
I said that when the Wii U game ended, but still.
But like Mario Kart 8, technically on the Wii U 2014, it's going to go for 10 years because it's going to end up in the 2024. So I feel like the next Mario Kart, you're right. I don't think it's going to be numbered, and I think they're going to launch it with the thought of this is going to be a 10-year thing. We're just going to have this run. Maybe it is Mario Kart Infinite, or I don't know. They'll come up with a title for it that doesn't sound like it's.
I think that's fair, but I think Mario Kart 8 had such longevity because of very specific things. They were like, let's do DLC, and then they ended it there. But then they just were like, hey, let's have a Mario Kart at the launch of the Switch. Let's port 8 and let's fix some things. And then it just kept on selling. I think they expected to sell well, but I don't think they expected to sell that well. But yeah, for sure. I feel like, Mario Kart 8 kind of clumsily became like they didn't expect it to do this. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with the next Mario Kart, like especially what they do with like what kind of tracks are they going to launch with, because this already has more than half of 96 tracks are classic tracks.
It launches with all of them.
So it's just like, what are you... Yeah. So it's just like, I have no idea.
This is why I think they have to do something original. It's the same situation Smash is in, where now Smash Ultimate is like the ultimate. They put so much of the old content in that if they make another one, it can't just be, we're doing more. It has to be different. So I think Nintendo admitting, like, this is going to be the ultimate Mario Kart now, so they have to do something different. I'm part of the Nintendo Kart, the Smash Kart group, but if they do Mario Kart 9 or 10, whatever they call it, it won't just be, we got 4 new cups with another new gimmick where there's 4 mushrooms now instead of 3. Like, they can't do that.
What if you can get out of your cart?
We're just running at full speed like
Hey, when we went from the Simpsons road rage to the Simpsons hit and run, that was like generational leap right there. We can get out of the car.
There you go. Okay.
Big deal.
There you go.
All right. You're on it.
I think even like a single player mode though isn't enough. You know, like Mario Kart's primarily multiplayer, and single player for those kind of games is like one and done. Like you play it maybe 10 hours and then you're done.
Okay.
It's not enough, I don't think.
So
I
we
think
build
you
out
need to do
that
something in the
multiplayer.
multiplayer realm too.
We just go full on live service with this thing.
Maybe.
May as well.
Okay.
If it launches with a good amount of tracks, that's fine. I don't care. I don't want them to launch with 4 tracks and then it's just
complete
like,
the
next.
the Bungie Destiny 10-year plan here with Mario Kart. All right.
See, I'm fine with the concept of live services. They just always launch abysmally.
There's gonna be like 2
That's
tracks.
the problem.
Of Mario Kart.
That's what they gotta fix. If they launch it with a complete state, like I don't know, like that would be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they just need to launch it with the correct amount of content.
There you go.
I love Halo Infinite. I am bored of the maps. I need new maps.
Yes, that's a good point.
I love it. I was 2-24 when I played with
Scott was rolling. Hey, you won us that one match, right? The capture the points where you were just hiding, like no one paid attention to you and you secured it.
You were talking to me. You were just like, all right, well, we'll just defend Scott. He'll just have them. He'll just take the flag. We'll just defend him.
We did close out with Xenoblade Chronicles 3, September 2022.
Do you want to take this one, Scott?
Yeah, I'm sure Scott was real excited.
All right, so I still hate badminton. It's the worst sport of the bunch.
You tried out Xenoblade Chronicles 2, didn't you? You tried it. Just wasn't for you.
Yeah. It's fine. I'm cool with this.
Yeah.
I'm totally cool with it. I don't care. You know, I don't get upset about these things. I think that's great to see. I think it's great to see such a series that Nintendo originally had no faith in finally get its third entry. And I think it would be cool to see X soon, either a sequel to X or a port or something as well. But Monolith Soft, they are just the hardest working company I've ever seen, where they are a support studio and they are making these giant open world RPGs like every 2 years.
I mean, it's Nintendo's
Which
like
is very
most
impressive.
important support studio because they're working on Zelda.
Yeah.
So you're doing
and
that.
they
just did
bought it
Arceus.
like 10, 15 years ago. You know?
They do Zelda, Animal Crossing, they do Splatoon. They're crazy. And
I'm pretty sure they did the world
expansion.
design for Arceus too.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely some stuff in there from Monolith Soft. Yeah.
Yep.
I am really excited for 3. There's a lot of fan service from 1 and 2. Like you can tell, like time has passed, but there's characters that either seem like they're descendants from 1 and 2, but there's also you see what looks like Melia and Nia at the end. So it's and also like the worlds combining. Like there's the Bionis, you see Mechon in there. There's definitely lots of really cool things for fans. I do wonder how approachable that'll be for non-fans. Maybe it tells its own story, but I think you might have to
say
know
that
the
you
gist.
could technically play it without the others, but it sounds like they're going to be referencing quite a bit from the other games. So not a bad idea.
I don't think Xenoblade has to worry about being non-approachable to not approachable to non-fans or something.
That's a good point.
It has a stigma. It has a stigma. Every Nintendo Direct, it doesn't even matter. People are like, I don't care about Xenoblade, and it doesn't even show up. Like you just see people that are just like, no.
Hey, you know what's interesting? It's actually closed out a couple of directs recently. We had the definitive edition close out a direct, and now this.
Sure, yeah.
So they're holding that series up pretty well.
It's wild to remember a time where everyone had to fight tooth and nail to even get Nintendo of America to say the word Xenoblade. And now people are sick of it because they talk about it too much. It's a weird scenario to live in.
I feel like from people I've talked to who are at that end of the series, it seems to mostly be the battle system that kind of throws them off. And I can kind of understand it because Xenoblade Chronicles 2, they didn't do the best job explaining that when you're playing the game to start up.
Yeah,
that
battle system.
It was kind of confusing to a lot of people.
They gave you a lot of tutorials, like too many tutorials. Like this is the HP system. Did you know you can attack with the attack button? Like it's so much at once.
Yeah, because when you actually figure it out, it's pretty rewarding overall to like string everything together and all the art start firing. And it was cool, but that's usually what I hear from people is like I I didn't understand the combat. It didn't click with me. So
yeah, I'd say the first one is probably a good starting point for most people. I'd say
First game's still
Xenoblade
great.
Chronicles
First great,
1.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Torna is easier from what I've heard.
Torna's very short as well.
To figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that might be a good starting point. But,
I mean, 2 is
you know,
weird because like the cast of characters is kind of lame, and that might get me some crap in the comments. But like,
they got some funky
Rex,
designs.
That-
They got some
That's a good
funky
point.
designs. Rex is a weird protagonist. They go a
Yeah.
little too far with Pyra and Mithra. The Nopon is not likable, to put it very lightly. It's a weird. It's weird.
I do want to
Yeah.
give some credit for what I saw in that direct where they showed some of the gameplay scenes. It looks significantly better than 2. When I was playing 2, I was looking at that, and I at times, like my character's face would just disappear because the resolution was so low, and this looks much better. Sure, it was controlled scenes where they're like, all right, this looks really good, let's put that in the direct. But from what I saw with like Torna and now this, and even Definitive Edition, I think they're getting better with this, with the Switch hardware and their engine and everything they're using.
Yeah. And the designs in general are just way more grounded. Like no
Yes.
one in this trailer was a boob. No one was just
Thank
a walking
God.
boob.
Oh my god.
She was a cat, though. She was a cat.
She was-
That's not grounded.
And that was our direct overall. Like I said, about 30 announcements. It was pretty good. It was quick. I mean, that was 30 announcements in 40 minutes. So it was pretty fast. And that actually left us quite a bit of time when they were talking about Switch Sports because they played an entire volleyball match. So, but that leads us up to September. All of that, and we just know things up till then. A lot of questions around things like Bayonetta, Breath of the Wild 2, and even this Metroid remake remaster that's been teased a bit. I did have that kind of that list of different games that we have, and there's still quite a few on there that are just we don't know when they're coming out necessarily.
Yeah, Mario and Rabbids also.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
another one. So how do we think that? I mean, from what you see here, how do you think the rest of the year is going to play out? Because we're expecting, I'm sure, something from Nintendo around E3 time as usual when they air a direct, and then probably towards the end of the year as well in like a September, October. But where do we have some of these titles? I mean, like Breath of the Wild 2, Bayonetta 3, Mario Rabbids, even something like Silksong at this point. How do they then place these games towards the end of the year?
Bayonetta 3 is going to be October.
Okay.
Zelda, I don't think Mario and Rabbids is going to make it. That seems like a February game.
Okay.
And then there's I'll stick by it. I'll place a bet. Zelda's coming out this year.
Oh, okay. So Zelda is this year.
I could see.
Interesting.
I would say so also.
Zelda is
I'll
this
say
year.
it. No Mario Party DLC. Mario Party's never getting DLC. Forget about it. Game Boy and TurboGrafx 16 get added to NSO in September. That's all I got for my. I
Virtual
F-Zero.
Boy exclusive to expansion pack.
Yeah, I wrote down F-Zero S. That is my cheeky title.
Damn,
Also, they want to. They're dipping into the casuals more, and Nintendogs should probably come back. I wrote down for the title. It's called Nintendogs plus Rats. You can have your own pet mice in the game, and then new Super Mario Brothers 3. We got 1, 2, 3 Switch. I think I was half asleep when I was writing most of those.
Sushi Striker 2 for sure.
1, 2, 3 Switch.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, the
obviously.
sequel to.
I'd be down. I'd be down.
Yeah, I was looking into PlayStation Vita Pets, and there's a mobile game, and it got 5 million
my God.
downloads, which, for context, that's more than Dr. Mario World. That little PS Vita branded game managed to sell
I
a
could
ton.
see a new Nintendogs. That actually wouldn't shock me if that
Yeah.
showed up.
There's a huge audience for it.
I just bought it.
Oh,
I just
nice.
Bought it.
Okay.
I can't wait. You thought you were being sly bringing up that title, thinking nobody else was gonna know
Rubbing
about
my
it.
hands together.
I
yeah.
have it. Yeah.
Yeah. The one that I'm just really curious about is Breath of the Wild 2. I think that's the question everyone's going to have up until they give us a date. Because they still say it's been 2022. I don't know. That's going to be an
It'll
interesting
be the main
one.
focus of E3.
You think that's
It'll be the main
Yeah.
focus
that's
of
hitting?
E3
You think that's hitting
regardless.
in November?
Yeah.
I think so.
It's been a while since we've gone Age of Calamity, but Zelda's Zelda's main month has always been kind of November. Like it's always like, oh man, November is the Zelda time. And Breath of the Wild's March. I feel like they're really pushing for November. I think they can do it.
I mean, there's
but-
usually also a Zelda game every year. So
Right.
if not Breath of the Wild, they'll have something to pump out.
Maybe
and I
that
just can't see
Twilight
them
Wind Waker
pumping something.
I
collection.
think
or
they got they have those in the vaults. It's been
Yeah,
done
they're
for
waiting.
centuries.
It's in the back pocket.
It's They had those Switch ports done before the Wii U versions even came out. Like they can put those out whenever they want. I think they're probably gonna be like, hey, like I feel like in the next couple months they might be like Zelda's coming out in March, and then like at E3 if they do that, then they'll be like, hey, while you're waiting for Breath of the Wild 2, here's remakes. But they might not want to do 2 remakes after another because it just did Skyward. So I think I don't know. I feel like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess might just come out.
Anything Pokemon related? Do you think in the holidays?
I say Arceus DLC.
Arceus DLC.
Because that game is selling gangbusters, and if Pokemon Snap got DLC and Sword and Shield got DLC, I can't imagine why not.
Seems like a no-brainer.
But that'll probably be it.
Yeah, it's too early for Gen 9. Like they've already done the remakes of Gen 4. They did Arceus like 3 months after that, 2 months after that. If they do Gen 9 in the same year as that, that's just a far too packed schedule. I'm not expecting those until probably not even next year. Like maybe 2024 minimum for those.
Okay.
But yeah, Arceus DLC makes a ton of sense.
So
they generally announce like mainline stuff in like February. If that, like they usually do that. Remakes they might wait a little bit longer. So I think we would have known about a mainline game if that would have come out this year. I think maybe, like you said, next year, but I think Arceus DLC makes the most sense. Like, I don't know. I cannot personally see a mainline game coming out this year.
It's not big, but there's multiple Pokemon spin-offs they can do. Detective Pikachu was announced in a conference where they said, Detective Pikachu is coming to the Switch. And they didn't specify what it was. So that's on the way. They said
the ending of the story, which could...
That could mean anything.
What about
Pokemon? Finally, the cliffhanger.
What about Pokemon Sleep?
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Big release over the holidays.
I feel like this is what's gonna happen. We're gonna get a Pokemon pinball game that is a mobile game, but also on Switch.
Oh,
okay.
It'll be kind of like whatever they had Pokemon Quest and Unite and do those mobile and Switch cross-platform.
We got Pokemon Dash 2.
So,
hell yeah!
So we're all expecting
Puzzle League.
We're all expecting Bayonetta 3 to come out like during the holiday season, that fourth quarter, right? We're all expecting that.
That's
like October.
That could be a
Bayonetta's a spooky October game.
Some of the recent talks from Platinum hasn't concerned anyone.
Not really. I think they have their relationships with Nintendo. They're doing their own thing publishing-wise. They have their own little goals there. I think there was some mistranslations with that as well. I remember someone from Platinum retweeted that article being like, that's not quite what they said. So I'm not scared about
the live service stuff.
Yeah, they also there was a quote saying they don't want to make high quality games anymore, which apparently was just a total mistranslation.
What do you think about their recent quote mentioning that they wouldn't be opposed to an acquisition if they were allowed to keep their freedom in terms of development?
They just need to. Is
that concerning? Because it sounded like they're like,
they have some of the
hey,
worst.
that doesn't look too bad. I mean, we're over here.
Platinum need to learn to stop talking.
Platinum have so many revenues of their income. They do the Nintendo stuff like Bayonetta, Wonderful 101, Star Fox Zero, but they also do a bunch of licensed games like Transformers, and they kind of they need that stuff to thrive.
Yep.
So I don't think they should have their hands just in one place. They seem better when they just do everything they can.
Babylon's Fall looks rough though.
It does look rough. It definitely looks rough.
But I think Bayonetta 3 is set for like October. October makes sense. So I think that's a good time for it to come out.
Yeah, I don't really see that getting delayed or anything like that. I think that's pretty.
I feel like they could drop that. Let's just say that Metroid Remake Remaster is coming out this year. That's been rumored.
August.
I mean, it could come out in August or September. Like, we just have a Xenoblade right now in September. You could drop something else in there. Maybe.
Yeah,
they're clearly not afraid to do 2 games in a month. Yeah.
Do you think
Advance Wars and Nintendo Switch Wars and all that?
What is the Metroid remaster? Like, what are we picturing it as?
That's
what I'm picturing is.
I mean, I still want the trilogy when the narrative got shifted to it being just a remake of 1.
Yeah.
1's the best one, so it'd be cool if it looks better. But I would be kind of upset if the Switch only has Metroid Prime 1 and 4.
Totally. I think there's a certain stance though. Like Prime 4. It could be coming out soon. It's been 3 years since Retro Studios rebooted that. But if they remastered Prime, that's almost like a demo for Prime 4, because we get to see all the Prime 4 mechanics adapted to 1. And that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
What about Donkey Kong?
But
though?
Oh god.
What's happening with Donkey Kong?
Is it
Donkey
7 or
Kong
8
game.
years since Tropical
Oh,
Freeze?
gosh.
It's nuts. It's been way too long.
They're gonna add DLC to Tropical Freeze.
Yes.
Let's go.
Let me get a 3D Donkey Kong game then too, since we're getting a Kirby 3D game.
Hey, listen.
Maybe.
Okay, I was standing in my game room for like 5 minutes, just looking at my Wii shelf, and I just said screw it, and I just played through Donkey Kong Country Returns recently, and that was really good. As in, like, I've already beaten it multiple times. Like, I love that style that Retro started with DKC when they brought it back. But I wouldn't be opposed to a 3D one. Because we only have Tropical Freeze on Switch. We have the best version of that style on Switch. So, well, I'd love to see what they could do more with it.
Do you think?
I'd love to see them do something weird.
Going back
like
to
a Jungle Beat or
Metroid
something.
Prime, let's just say they take Metroid Prime, they make it look really nice and new controls and all this. I mean, is that a $60 game right now?
Yeah.
Metroid
that's
Prime, the
For
first one?
Nintendo?
They're
No, but like,
gonna
do you
do
think?
it.
But like, do you think it should be? Like, you look at that, and it's just because we've had the trilogy for full price before. Now we're
Well, then we're
getting
getting into like the Metroid Dread debate. Is a 2D game worth $60?
yeah, but that's
is
a
a remake worth $60?
That's a new 2D game. Like, it's brand new.
Yeah, but
If
it's gonna still lead to those types of debates.
Sure.
If it's a full-on
Yeah.
remake, like if they've done it from scratch, if it's no longer a
Right.
single-stick
Well, it's-
shooter, I think that's
people
60.
people
Right.
seem kind of unsure. It's like it's a good remaster, kind of like it's a high level remaster, not quite a remake, but like it's somewhere in between. I guess people are thinking it's like Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive, something like that.
They just go with Sword HD for 60, and it's still outsold the original.
Yeah.
I don't really care at this point, like with video game pricing. I mean, there are some things that are just like, hey, this, like this is ridiculous. But a lot of stuff like this, like I'm not gonna look at like, oh, I paid $60 for Metroid Prime and think like, after I beat the game and I'm like, this is phenomenal. I'm not gonna be like, wow, I was robbed. I don't know. I mean, like, but obviously looking at it, like if I was in charge of pricing, I'd be like, this is worth $30. But I don't know. At this point, like I don't really get that annoyed at pricing, but I don't know. It's gonna be 60.
Would it be more weird because we're gonna have, like Ant, you said, we'd have the first one and then the fourth one, like there wouldn't be 2 and 3 somewhere in there.
Yeah, it'd be strange. I mean, but to be fair, this is the same company that had the opportunity to port Pikmin 1 and 2 to get people
Always gotta
excited
come
for
back to
3, and
Pikmin.
they just said, no, 3, just 3. Good luck.
Yeah,
I want to say,
so-
was Shadow of the Colossus $40 on PS4 when it came out?
it was.
Yeah.
But then Demon's Souls was 70 on PS5.
It was.
Like it's almost like other companies have adapted the Nintendo. Like
Yeah.
you can get away with it.
Basically.
But I didn't really hear a lot of people complain about Demon's Souls though, and I think it was because being a launch game and just kind of being more of a graphical showcase, I guess. I don't know. Like obviously, like I think a game like Skyward Sword shouldn't inherently be $60, but when I look at it and I'm just like I'm still getting like the 20 hours of gameplay out of it. It's kind of hard to be like, like it's just something where like Nintendo's just gonna be Nintendo. They're not gonna stop doing it.
There's a lot of people who haven't played Metroid Prime either, so a lot of people are looking at this and say that's a new game to me. All right, it looks good.
Yeah.
Apparently, Retro is spent some time on this one, is at least what the rumor and the word is. So they've always been able to
having them do stuff like this. Like just have them work on their new games. They ported Donkey Kong.
I think people believe that Retro is like. I mean, sure they're good, but it sounds like they get a lot of stuff canceled. So I feel like there are things that just never come out, and it's like,
oh, for sure,
you're not allowed to basically
didn't
put
do
that out
anything
there
after Tropical Freeze.
Yeah, and it's I mean, they've run support and done other things too to help out, but it is weird that the output from that studio is fairly low for. I mean, people hold that place in high regard.
I think
so.
next level is seeming like kind of the next big Nintendo first party studio that people are like, oh, they
In the West,
made
yeah.
a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Retro's looking at that like,
at-
ooh, they're actually putting stuff out.
Looking at Retro, like in their commercial success, I think DKC Returns is like the only high-profile release they've done. I mean, like Metroid Prime's one sold like nearly 3 million, which is good. But Next Level, like 11 million for Luigi's Mansion 3.
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That's
Yeah.
great. Good to see that.
They're, like Next Level are definitely higher profile in terms of like success.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, even Punch Out did good for what it was.
Yeah.
Like it sold over 1 million.
if-
like it was
yeah.
just like
if I'm
at the
Nintendo
time, like, that was
and I'm
like,
in
that's
charge
pretty
of
good.
budget and I'm looking at Next Level and then Retro, I mean, I'd probably be putting most of the budget in the Next Level. It's the
Well,
way
they
it
can
is.
they can do a bunch of stuff. They even did Metroid Prime themselves, even though it wasn't that great. For most people, they're very versatile. They can do a bunch of different stuff. They're doing Mario Strikers now potentially, but.
It's a shame. Retro had such a pedigree that everyone was hyped up that every franchise they touch will turn to gold, and then apparently they just had a ton of development issues.
If they can turn around what happened with Metroid Prime 4, which sounded terrible from all the rumors, hey, I mean that could be the big resurgence of retro studios right there, So they've always been able to get a lot out of, I don't say lesser hardware, but weaker hardware overall. Like the GameCube, Metroid Prime, you can play it now. It looks like an Xbox 360 game, which. That's high praise.
And it's
for
60
GameCube.
FPS.
Yeah.
Somehow it's 60 FPS.
Yeah. Even like the second one and
even
3
the Donkey
and
Kong,
Tropical Freeze.
Even the Donkey Kong games were really good for their hardware.
Yep.
Tropical
They
Freeze
looked
is
amazing.
crazy.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
So if they can do it and they pull it off Metroid Prime, then Metroid Prime 4, and it looks legitimately good and it plays well, then they're back. So. But I think that's our talk today about the Nintendo Direct and some of the Nintendo 2022. We might have to come back together after that, the Direct and E3. We don't know if E3 is going to happen, but somewhere around there happens because it seems like it'll basically set up the rest of the year and then probably going into 2023 as well. I guess the one last question for you guys, just last prediction right here, right now in February. Do you think we have any new piece of hardware from Nintendo by the end of the year?
Yes,
No.
a Kirby Game & Watch. That is new
Probably.
hardware by
How about
Nintendo.
new Switch? Revision, different color, special edition?
No, they're done.
They're doing
No.
too well, aren't they? I mean, like, their lineup right now does not hint at any kind of loss of momentum. They're doing Switch Sports. Like, that feels like another wave they can ride. They're already selling so well. There's so many big games coming up. Splatoon
Mario
3.
Kart means they're coasting for 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're fine. They're fine.
There you go.
I mean, look at how you have a game like No Man's Sky come to that's the only current gen in quotes. We have the next gen now, but that's the only current gen game that they announced, and you could have taken it out and people would have still been, that was the best Direct in years.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. You have stuff like Chrono Cross coming to the Switch that could run on anything. You have all of this stuff that's just you don't need powerful hardware. And this is the stuff that people are getting excited about on the Switch. Nintendo, obviously I would like to see a spec bump for Nintendo's sake, and also to see a lot of other games come over, but Nintendo doesn't need those other games. We get stuff like a Doom Eternal every now and then, but those aren't what's really selling the Switch right now. Nintendo doesn't need that kind of stuff, to be fair, right now, and it would be great to have more of it, but they don't need it. They already hit 100 million. It's they just don't need it, and I think we're just gonna have to wait till the next major iteration of the Switch to see kind of a spec increase, because I think it'll be backwards compatible. I think that's how we get our Nintendo Switch Pro, but I think it'll be a Nintendo Switch 2 at that point.
There you go.
I think they're also you go.
We're all just kind of bored of this of this conversation, We've been discussing the Switch Pro since the Switch came out. It was exciting for some time, but now I'm just I've just kind of accepted that things are the way they are. And I don't have this big urge for the Pro anymore.
No.
Okay.
And after the sales numbers just recently dropped and seeing how many consoles the Switch has outsold, I think the Switch is the third best-selling console of all time now?
Past the PS1.
Just PS2 and DS, I think are the only two left. I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo just is pushing the Switch 2 as far as they can, and just their goal now is to somehow be the best-selling console of all time.
Well, what if
I
this
think
generation,
games like Switch Sports,
what if they just don't do the generational thing anymore, like how we think of generations, and what we thought was going to be like a 5 or 6 year generation that started in 2017 is a 15-year generation, and they just do iterations of the Switch for the next 10 years or something, and they're all backwards compatible. If you want let's say a terrible experience, but if you don't mind it being 360p on the original one, there you go, and it's 4K on this more expensive one, and it's just a family of systems.
Sense.
I think that's an interesting and definitely sensible way to go about things. But it just kind of depends. I don't know. It depends on if people really want. How often do you think iterations will come out? Every 2 years, every 3 years,
every 2 to 3 years. I'd say every
year,
2 to 3 years, and then we just do different colors of the system or special edition. They announce a blue Switch Lite and the thing sells out. It's just a different color, and someone goes out there and they buy it again. They already have a Switch.
The OLED did a good bump. If they do a Metroid Prime special OLED,
they got to do a Prime 4, right? They got to do a Prime 4 special edition.
that'll do another good bump.
Okay, good.
All I know is you don't move away from hybrid. Like
No.
Sony and
This
Xbox,
is it now.
Yeah, Sony and Microsoft have that market cornered. Nintendo going in offers nothing.
Yep. Nope. Absolutely, stay with hybrid. Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it's I'm interested to see what they do with their controller kind of thing, because I know they're. I think if we're just expecting it to be a Switch but with better specs, I think we're.
They gotta fix that
I think
Joy-Con
we're
at
all gonna
least.
be really
They
disappointed.
gotta fix that Joy-Con at least.
Yeah, well, they're gonna do some weird stuff. They're gonna do
4K
something
Rumble.
weird. Yeah,
4K
they're gonna
Rumble.
do something. Man, I'm thinking 8K.
8K.
Oh, man.
That thing is gonna ruin my fingers.
All right.
Yeah, so
Well,
I don't know.
Thanks.
It'll be interesting, but maybe in the next 3 years.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone tuning in. Thanks to everyone here for joining me for Nintendo's 2022. We'll probably reconvene, like I said, in a couple of months or so from now when we get the E3 stuff and Summer Game Fest, whatever happens there, and we'll revisit how Nintendo's 2022 ends up looking for the rest of the year. But
After Kirby comes in and dominates the entire gaming industry.
oh, we should have sales numbers for Kirby by then too. I think. It's in March. Around then, we'll at least know.
Gosh.
highest selling game on the Switch.
Yeah.
Hey, I think that's a breakout for Kirby waiting to happen. So exciting stuff there. But make sure you check everyone out. Links down in the description, of course, for all the channels. Thanks everyone here joining me. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.